So, Mike, it seems like half the world's on fire half the time. Every time I, go and doom scroll social media, it's like LA's on fire, North Carolina's on fire. And I know you have a background in helping people with fire remediation, and now you're, one of the foremost experts in air quality. What do you know about what's happened with the air in places like LA where we've had these insane fires?
Is doom scroll actually a website, or is that just a concept?
Is an adjective an action?
Dude, no one even believes me when I say I don't know verb, noun, and adjective. And then they explain it to me, and I got it, and my brain's just never chosen to remember that.
I made it through 7 grades. I'm exempt from those requirements.
Yeah.
But anyway, no,
LA.
Doom scrolling is a thing you do. It's an action.
Okay, it's like when you're like going through a bunch of sad things or negative things on the internet.
Yes.
Okay, well, it would be a cool domain.
Which, depending on who you follow, the ratio of like positive to negative news is going to,
yes,
is going to be determined.
They say like if
like who I follow on X it's all bad news.
People say that. My X is like all great news.
My Instagram's all great news, or it's funny, or inspiring.
Your X is your doom spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. They say like if it bleeds, it leads. And like I get that there's some truth to that. But also if you look at like the most viewed videos of all time on YouTube, it's always like cute puppies and kittens. So I feel like there's like a really great opportunity now for people to make more of that content. I don't know that if it bleeds, it leads is actually true.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
Some of that like dog reuniting with owner after 20 years, like those heartfelt things, they also crush.
Yeah.
So I think there's a really good place for that. So that's
I love those videos, especially when it's a wild animal, like somebody raises a tiger in captivity, and
the polar bear hugs the man.
Yeah, they leave for 30 years and come back and they recognize them.
Yeah, you love it.
Yeah,
like I would pick that over the doomy option. Is just I don't think people are creating enough like polar bear and tiger style content. I guess it's a little bit more. It's harder to produce that kind of content.
Well, sometimes we have Cookie here on the podcast, my dog, and maybe that will have that effect. I should always have Cookie being super cute when I'm talking to someone about something really dark, like 5G or chemtrails.
Yeah, be petting your dog.
Yeah, talking about the mass genocide of vaccines. At least the dog's cute, guys.
Yeah, unvaccinated dog.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I wish she was, but they got to her before.
No.
Yeah, before I adopted her.
So, LA wildfires. Yeah. I went there, by the way.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I did.
Whoa.
Yes, I did. So, dude, it was crazy. I was at a retreat in Mexico right as the fires were burning. I'm like, and it was like a week of no internet, no phone, nothing. So like just as we were entering like airplane mode, like phones away, that was happening. I'm like, the universe is really fucking with me right now. Cause like normally that means go to LA right now. Like when it's burning and I see evacuations, historically, that means head to the city when I used to do. For anyone who hasn't listened before, my background was wildfire restoration, floods and mold cleanup, hurricanes. So I'd go to wherever the worst devastation was and fix things and rebuild and test air and clean up. And that's what led to Jaspr. But so I went to LA. The reason I went was because I feel uniquely qualified for that situation. That LA wildfire in January it's a very unique fire because historically, wildfires only burn trees. So you're dealing with wildfire smoke, but that's like a big it's a glorified campfire. It's trees that were burning. Still a big problem. But with the LA wildfire, 12,000 homes burnt, maybe 20,000 cars burnt. LA's got a lot of Teslas. So imagine how many lithium batteries got cooked. And imagine how many, when someone had to drink too many and they're lazy at the end of the night and they throw the marshmallow bag after s'mores on the campfire, like that is not a natural smell. Like never put plastic on a fire again. So now imagine every bit of drywall, every paint can, every WD-40, every aerosol, every Windex, every Lysol, the car, the battery, it's all part of that toxic soup. So this is not a normal wildfire. So most fire restoration companies some of them have experience with like the home is burnt down. Let's knock it down, clean up the ash and rebuild it. That's not a rare situation. And most fire restoration companies and mold companies and flood companies, they're used to day-to-day stuff. Your kitchen had a leak, your bathroom flooded, the toilet flooded, a kitchen fire, a dryer vent fire department comes, or someone fire extinguishes it, and they have to clean up the home. Very few of them have experience with regional smoke damage, meaning the home has no visible damage, but it was basking in a toxic soup. My experience in 2016 in Fort McMurray, Alberta, the biggest Canadian wildfire that's on record, it was just like the LA thing. So thousands of homes burnt, cars burnt, and it was more of a smoke damage situation. So when you look at the news only films the area where the homes are gone, and they only talk about the lost homes and insurance and all that stuff. What I'm most concerned about, the most impacted person after wildfire, is the person who didn't lose their home, but all their neighbors did. Person who lost their home, despite what you might read online, 99% of them are going to get a brand new home. And they're going to get a check for $500,000 for most of the contents. A lot of money. So this is horrible. They lost a lot of things, but it's a very known situation, what needs to be done. When your home was 300 feet from another home that got lost, your home is literally just completely toxic soup. Every fiber of that home is ruined, and insurance companies telling you to get back in that home next month. So I feel very uniquely qualified because of my experience with regional citywide smoke damage. It felt like let me go there for myself and see what's really going on and do some testing. So yeah, I'll get into a bit more of the specifics, but the air quality after a fire of that magnitude, it could be bad for 3 months. It could be bad for a year. So best case scenario is a few months later, we're all good. The worst case scenario is this is 9/11 and a million people get cancer in a few years, because this is not a normal situation. No one has the data on what this means.
I kind of had that sense based on what we build things from being so toxic. And when you burn those things down, it's completely different than when a bunch of trees burn down, and even just the term, I'm going to get a little conspiratorial here, but wildfire is pretty ambiguous, if not dubious, when you see like all of this arson going on and strange phenomenon wherein trees are not burned down, but a whole car is melted to the ground. You know what I mean? And then anything painted blue is not burned. I mean, there's some weird stuff going on, and none of us really know what it is. I don't know. I think humans have a basic understanding of how fire works just intuitively, and there's so many things going on these days that are just like, something seems off with that. It's just not behaving like normal fires. But regardless of how it starts, it's like what you're talking about is the real concern is what do we do with what's left?
And man, the amount of times I've seen a home where like every home on the street's gone and then one home is there. But sometimes you find out a crazy story, like old Joe never left. Like
he was out there with the hose?
He was out there with a hose and a gas mask and saved his house. Yeah. And then he's like, shit, like my insurance company's saying my home is fine. So by the way, when I was I put some pictures on Instagram, but I went through Altadena, which is one of the most devastated areas, and not the rich devastated area, not the Palisades with all the fancy homes that people talked about. And there was literally I have a picture of a Ford Transit van, and then you see like a molten aluminum river of liquefied metal that had now hardened. So literally, when a home burns, it's like 1,800 to 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Aluminum melts at like 1,100 degrees or so. So you literally would see like these rivers of molten aluminum, and like, how much of that, think about heavy metals.
Right.
We get heavy metals from like all kinds of stuff, never mind like cooking soupy metals. And you also have homes that are still piles of ash. So I was monitoring the air throughout the day, and as the wind was changing, the air quality was really changing, because you have those piles of ash, and then every time people think it rains and then it's all gone, it's not the case at all. Like, where do you think it goes? Like it dries and then the wind kicks up, and that's why it can be a problem for a while. So the only way to like accurately see what's going on, really, you'd have to test the air, test the water, test the soil, and test people's dust in their homes. And you need to do it like weekly for a prolonged period of time. No one's doing that. So there's a girl named Kayla Barnes. She's like a biohacker longevity girl, and she's been doing her blood work monthly for a couple of years. Brian Johnson too. and both of them, their blood work post wildfires are like off the charts, like the heavy metals and the chemicals, and they're doing comprehensive blood testing.
Wow.
So, and they were in areas that were like not even the worst affected. So actually, by the way, it's a free course that I took some time doing. If you live in LA or you have a wildfire issue in your area, I created a resource at jaspr.co/smoke. There's no offers. There's nothing there. It's just a choose your own adventure course where like I went to the studio for 7 hours because I'm like, every time this happens, dude, I'm on the phone like for an hour a night with everybody, helping them navigate insurance, contractors, helping them test their home, assessing everything. I'm like, let me just go to the studio for a day and say everything that it's 90% of the time is the same conversation. So it's Jaspr, jaspr.co/smoke. And I created a resource on how to assess your home. If you lost your home entirely, if you were a minute from the fire, or if you were like 15 miles away, but you're still concerned, it teaches you everything from how to DIY detox your home, how to navigate insurance, how to get things covered, how to hire a contractor, what to do if your home was water bombed. So like, man, you don't realize this, but if your home was water bombed with thousands of pounds of water, it's now structurally screwed. Whoa. I found fish
and probably moldy.
Moldy, very moldy. I've seen fish on rooftops before.
Oh my God.
Because when they're grabbing water from like the lakes, they grab a lot of fish. Whoa. I've seen tons of seaweed and like fish. And then like someone was like, it bust a hole through the house. So you go into a home that I thought was smoke damage. There's like a skylight and like fish in the living room. I'm like, this is like a crazy dystopian movie here.
Holy shit.
And then you're like, oh yeah, it got water bombed. The water source was a lake. It's not that crazy. But yeah, so even like oftentimes you really need to know how to, just like with your health, the doctor, the naturopath, no one's gonna they're all tools and resources, but you have to be your own student and you have to be your own general contractor of your own health. Even for your home, no matter what GC you hire, the customer is still the ultimate GC. And with your health, it's the same. So when you're dealing with insurance and they're denying stuff, you have to document every single conversation. And if they approve something, ask for it in writing in an email. Like, hey, for my records, can you just email me that now? Otherwise, a week later, there's a new insurance adjuster and they're like, I didn't say it. You got no backup? Just because they approved it on the phone and they told you to hire all these people and now they're like, sorry, not covered. So it's kind of like a friendly cop who's like your best buddy and then still hits you with the harshest ticket. Like, thought we were boys, man.
Yeah.
So insurance is like that.
So we've all experienced that at one point, I think, with customer service, right? You call to straighten something up with whatever.
Yes.
You think it's sorted and then it's not. And you call back and they're like, what? I don't know what. I'm actually going through that with PayPal right now. It's very top of mind, dude.
Really?
Oh, yeah, dude.
It's not fun.
Yeah. Just this morning, I finally had ChatGPT write a proper email documenting everything that we've ever said for the past 2 months of trying to straighten out this one issue. And yeah, it's just like you get a new person and they're like, oh, they give you the automated reply that's like, oh, click here, go there. I'm like, no, dude, we've been through this 20 times over the past 2 months. Here are all my case numbers. It's like dealing with bureaucracy, and especially now with so much automated customer service, it can be very frustrating.
I'm glad you said ChatGPT though, because you reminded me of a good thing. I talk about, actually, this is the one thing I didn't talk about in the smoke course, but when I went out to LA, it was very evident. So, the homeowner's asking me, he's like, what about my leather couch? Because I was explaining how all the porous things are intoxicated. Anything in your home, a carpet or a couch or whatever, it's porous. So it pulls all the chemicals in and it can't really get out. So that's like if you had a hardwood table or glassware, you can clean that. But I can't clean a carpet. I can't clean a sponge. I can't clean clothes. I can't clean insulation. Anything that's porous. Anything that could get wet by water can also absorb air. And what was interesting was he was asking me, what about this? What about this? And I was just explaining my justification for each item of why insurance should replace it. AI is a master at this. Wow. And with insurance companies, it's like, can you please explain to my insurance company why my record player and my vinyls need to be replaced? Because they're going to be like, it's fine. With TVs, for example, I'll give you a fun example. TVs and computers need to be disposed of. You're like, why? It's a computer. I can wipe it down. Well, those things have intakes. So just because it's working today, your microcontrollers and stuff, the smoke is very corrosive. So let's say you had your TV should last for 10 years. Sometimes 6 months, 12 months after the fire, all your electronics start failing. So
Oh, wow.
And GPT can write a very beautiful scientific thing explaining how the smoke residue is on the board and it won't fail on day 1, but it's going to fail on day 300. With like, I remember the guy had this whole vinyls collection. Well, first of all the value, if you don't have the vinyl cover, the vinyls are worthless. So the vinyls are all porous. So those are contaminated, and the smoke will actually get into the, I forget the word, but basically like the rings in the record.
The grooves, man.
It gets in the grooves.
It's in the groove,
And
baby.
the soot will mess them up, and then the audio quality will be distorted. So then if they're like, no, they're fine. So then what would you do there? You'd be like, okay, well then I need to have an audio engineer listen to each one with special equipment to test it. Well, how much do you think that guy charges? Now it's like you get like a $40,000 bill to assess your, then they're like, fine, we'll just cover it. So it's very much this like cat and mouse kind of game, but AI is fantastic. You're like, give me justification on why I need this replaced, and it's masterful.
Great idea too, with answering all the questions in one fell swoop. I did that with my EMF course, which is free. What's our link for that? lukestory.com/EMF masterclass. You know what? Now that I think about it, we'll put all the notes today at lukestory.com/air, including your smoke course.
Okay,
but
great.
I think that's a great just overall service kind of toward, the betterment of humanity. If you have an area of expertise, rather than spending the time and energy answering each question, which is a really nice and, altruistic thing to do. If you just kind of like archive all of that information somewhere that's universally accessible, especially if it's free.
I'm going to do one now in a few weeks for mold as well.
Oh, cool.
How to inspect your house for mold, how to deal with your own thing, how to hire a contractor, how to test, how to know if you're getting scammed. I'm going to do another one for if you're having a baby and you need to optimize your nursery to not be a VOC box. So all these things that I'm like, anything that I've talked about on a podcast that was useful, I'm like, let's just turn that into a free course. And my setup is so ghetto, but I really like it. So I literally just use like a Google Doc or a Notion, and then, Loom videos.
Yeah.
So I just recorded like 20 looms, and then I have a title. So I just call it like a choose your own adventure course. I'm like, if your house didn't get water bombed, you probably don't care to watch that piece. So based on your situation, you don't have to like get the Kajabi and go through the whole course and do my modules. Yeah. I'm like, it's like an FAQ page, and each one's like a 5 to 7 minute video.
Cool.
So I was able to just like rant at a camera for 3 hours and then edit that into little digestible things. So I'm going to do the same thing with mold and
epic. I'll watch the mold one.
Seems like the right thing to do.
That's like a tough one to tackle because, like with this house, we did a lot to get rid of any mold when we renovated it, and then monitored. You've come over here and done testing for us and stuff. We have the Jaspers now in pretty much every main room, which is great, but still sometimes I wonder, we got a new HVAC system. They said they did it right. I'm like, but did they? Because there's a little condensation coming out of one of the vents. It's like, after you live in a place for a while, when it comes to mold, you can't really be sure unless you kind of stay on it,
I always tell people
it's dynamic. It's not just like a set it and forget it. It can be great and then it changes and it's not. And most of the time we don't find out until it's too late and everyone starts getting sick and you got to throw all your shit out and all that.
In the mold restoration industry, they call it the mold rush. Because
that's funny.
Because as the demand is growing so quickly, it's like the gold rush. But unlike gold, mold is a renewable resource. Gold is finite. So it's actually, it's the gold rush that doesn't end. Because mold is growing every single day faster than we can remediate it. It's growing. And when your home is being built, first of all, most people live in an apartment, a condo, or in a cookie cutter subdivision home. That is the standard American home. There's no time when the designer, the architect, and the builder are sitting around at a board table saying, how do we make the most healthiest human optimal home possible? No, they're saying, we got 2,000 acres. How many trees do we need to cut down? How many homes can we build? How fast can we build them? How cheap can we build them? Those are the big 3 questions. The HVAC system is the lungs of your home. No one's like, and then usually in home design, often, even I've seen high-end architects doing this, they design the floor plan. They're like, the bedroom, the kitchen, the master, the bathroom. Then they're like, where can we shove the HVAC? And how do we duct it? It's not like, how do we create an efficient process where the home breathes good? So in Texas, everyone's furnace and air conditioners are like, all the mechanical is usually in your attic. Your attic is typically an unclimate conditioned space. So you have a cold AC air, a hot attic, What do you think happens? Condensation, drip, 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 mold. They don't usually spray foam the attic and put your HVAC equipment in a climate controlled space. They just, why? And it's not even usually like most of the things in a home, like a water filtration system. The average home now is over $1 million. Putting in a $5,000 or $6,000 water filtration system is not a big deal. A lot of the mechanical stuff, the HVAC, the furnace, the heating, it's the equipment's often fine. It's just how are they running it and how are they installing it? And there's no, like one of my huge missions for the next few years is, remember, I used to test air for a living, thousands of homes. I'm like, there should not even be an air quality testing industry because the HVAC guys, they come to your house for free. It's funny, like home renovators can have the worst marketing in the world and still build a multi-billion-dollar business because their offer is so good. It's like, I will come to your house and like, I will build you a new kitchen. I will build you a new bathroom. I will paint your whole home. And their offer is free estimates. It's like, I'll come to your house, measure things, take pictures, give you a quote. It's like, wow, okay. Like so their offer is so good. And that's allowed them to like just have a yard sign or like a Craigslist post and build big businesses. Most people can't do that, but their offer is so good. So it's like, why is the HVAC industry? They're come to your, by the way, if you have any furnace or air conditioner guys here, they usually have a carbon monoxide detector on their waist. They're checking for gas leaks because God forbid you die that night. They're not liable if there was a gas leak. So they're looking for all the gases that will kill you tonight, but they're not looking for the stuff that's slowly killing you. So why doesn't he also have a carbon dioxide detector? Why not go to baby's bedroom and do a little mold check? Hey, I'm already at your house. Let me make sure that the baby's bedroom and that your master bedroom actually has clean air being blown into it. These are the guys. Look, great products exist. So it's kind of like how doctors don't learn anything about nutrition. The guys who install furnaces and air conditioners don't know anything about air quality. So as an industry, like one of like my biggest missions for the next few years is to help teach the HVAC guy, and they love getting in your home for free and selling you stuff. So it makes sense for those dudes to have the gadgets. Like I walk around with my air quality detector all the time. These guys are already in your home looking for additional things that they could potentially sell you based on looking for problems. So all they got in their tool belt is like, your AC's old. It cost me $2,000 to fix it or $8,000 to replace it. Instead of spending an hour and assessing it and selling you air filters and fresh air intakes and upgrading your bathroom fans, installing a new range head. We talked about that last time. A lot of people have horrible ventilation in their kitchens. So the air quality testing industry, they're like, I will come to your house for $1,000 and test your air. There's typically under $50 of lab testing done. And if the HVAC guy's already there, like, okay, it's $50 for a mold sample. That like the lab cost is typically about $20 to $22 per test for mold. So this whole the mold rush has created this whole industry that doesn't really need to exist. And I would love to see the 100,000 plus guys out there every day in people's homes just doing that as a part of their sales.
I mean, it's a great idea for their business model. You reminded me of when we first installed the home security system here, the ADT shit or whatever.
Yep.
I mean, the guy was really, really annoying to the point where I was like, I almost didn't sign it.
He was so annoying that you paid him to.
But he went around, he's checking all the windows, and then he's giving me crime stats on the neighborhood and how people break in and when they do it and how often it happens around here. And by the time he left, I mean, I was like, okay, I need a sensor in every room and every window. And like he had me sold on everything just based on giving me what I think was probably accurate data. But had he just come in and said like, oh, so you want an alarm? Yeah, sounds like a good idea. And that's what grown-ups do, right? I probably would have just gotten the bare minimum.
Yes.
But by the time he gave me his whole pitch, as annoying as it was still pretty convincing. And next thing you know, like I got the whole.
And once he's got you on the ground window, he's like, criminals these days, have you seen these collapsible ladders that they can stuff into a trunk? Like they can go right into your master bedroom.
Yeah.
Like if you ever travel out of town, like, they're more likely to break in when mom's home alone. When your wife is here is the most likely time. So we should probably do some extra security on your master bedroom.
There you go.
So yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But like, it's a huge so there's already people in homes doing this. So that's why Jaspr eventually, it's not for at least the next few years, but eventually I'm intending to actually make full HVAC systems and then use that as a vehicle to train the HVAC industry how to do air quality. Because they're already heating and cooling. Why aren't we they're the ones, HVAC. heating, ventilation, air conditioning. They typically don't do much of the ventilation part.
Yeah.
And why is there not an air cleaning part? Like, what about the cleaning of the air?
Totally.
So like an analogy that I can't unsee since I first saw it is, you know, what air is to humans, what water is to fish, air is to people. And like, you know, I kind of imagine that like swimming is kind of like dancing in the air. Like we just call it swimming because it's underwater. And if you take the fish out of the water, you know, they flail around and die in a few minutes. The same thing happens if you take the human out of the air. And if you think about if you ever had a fish tank or a swimming pool, you don't go into the pool with like a sponge and like scrub the bottom of the pool. You get a water filter and a pump. If you have a fish tank, you need to get a filter and a pump. You have to clean the bowl and change the bowl and do that stuff a little bit. So people have housekeepers and they're mopping and they're dusting and they're vacuuming and all this stuff. But that's the equivalent of jumping into your swimming pool and like scrubbing the walls where the air is actually the thing that needs to be cleaned and recycled. So we have a whole industry. We have home builders, developers, designers, architects, HVAC stuff. And somehow no one is picking up yet. And that's where like the air awareness piece to me is everything, because I'm not going to be building massive subdivisions. At least that's not in my plans. But imagine and like, you know, this, I'll just call it the wellness trend. I don't call it things a trend that I think are going to keep going up forever. Like, I don't think filtered water was a trend and we're going to go back to tap. You know, like there's certain health trends that come and go and new supplements and stuff, but like clean water, organic food, those don't feel like trends. They feel like areas of awareness that are constantly expanding. And at certain moments of time, that accelerates more than others. But I don't like to call them trends. So I don't feel like air is the new trend. It's an area of emerging awareness.
Yeah.
And when that happens, you know, if your subdivision home said like, if you buy this home, you are, 300% more likely to get cancer in the 10 years, nobody would buy the house. So that's not on the sign. But so now if the developers were like, hey, wait a second here, no one's buying our homes anymore. They've realized, no one's buying our food or no one's buying our homes anymore. And this is a situation, I've heard a lot of podcasts about the food industry and pharma, and I'm sure you've had all these guys and gals on your pod. And I agree with a lot of it. A lot of it seems like nefarious and evil. And then other parts of it were like, this was just like done, subsidizing crops after a war. And like, we forgot the memo never happened that it's not war anymore. So things just like kind of over decades kind of got weird and broken. All the home environmental air stuff, I don't think there's like a sick home cabal and they're working with the medical industry to like give you allergies and mold poisoning. I really don't. I just think it's completely lack of awareness, which is exciting because it doesn't feel like there's this like, there's no like big pharma force that we're against.
Yeah,
if
totally.
the developers were like, wait, you mean we could just build homes with better materials and really great air quality? Like that would be a feature you could market. Especially like you could make a home with under 10 grand of upgrades. That would be wildfire smoke proof or allergen proof. You could make a home that would filter any of the cedar or pollen that comes into home. So imagine you're a home builder, much like that alarm guy, and he's like, hey, you're more likely to actually, like, allergens are the sneakiest burglar of them all. They'll like come in and steal your sleep every single night. And he does a little tap on your couch and is like, there's more pollen in your home right now and on your pillow than outside. Cedar fever comes in and it can't get out, which is the truth. But if we were filtering your air inside, if we set in a fresh air intake with the clean air system, it's $5,000, you're going to have a pollen-free home. That builder now is going to have the most demand. So that's why I love this awareness type of stuff where it's just a no-brainer. So for anyone who's a home builder, a developer, an architect, this stuff is just, and even when the like housing market has crashed 2023 and 2024 compared to where it was, who's not crashing? Healthy home builders. Their prices haven't gone down at all. The people who have generic homes are dying. People who have unique and cool homes are doing great still.
Yeah, I like your line of thinking there of creating the awareness that then breeds the demand, right? It's like, even now, to your point of working with HVAC professionals, we've gone through a few of them and haven't had the most positive experiences. But our recent company, I'll give them a shout out. They're called AC Superheroes. And we were having some issues and they came in. I just was like, screw it. I'm just getting 2 new whole systems. I'm over it. trying to like repair them and stuff after a while just gets to be kind of a black hole. And they were really polite and cool, but I wouldn't say they were annoyed by my requests about the air quality, but they were kind of like, wow, give me kind of, dude, it's not that big of a deal. Why you bother? I want them to put the UV lights in the condensers and, all these kind of little add-ons that I'm sure don't totally solve the problem, but at least I think will hopefully slow down the possibility of mold developing. And, they just kind of like give you a little side eye, but they're like, all right, if you say so, we'll do it. But they weren't that excited about it or like, oh yeah, of course, we always do this. It was kind of like, yeah, some people like you that are a little neurotic ask us to do this, but it's not a standard.
And this is in Austin where the awareness is as high as anywhere.
It's not a standard part of their operation where they're like, oh no, we definitely have to do it like this because you got to pay attention to the ventilation and the air quality. They're just like, yeah, we'll do it for you if you want. But if I hadn't mentioned it, they weren't going to tell me about it.
No, and like there's no reason.
It was up to me to have the understanding and make the request.
There's no reason why they didn't get you on bathroom fans, a range hood. Even, hey, your range hood is 1 foot higher than it needs to be. I know it's annoying and it seems
Mine is?
No, I'm making up an example.
Okay, I was like,
I think your range hood's fine.
It's too late to change it now.
I think your range hood's fine. But for a lot of people, it's an old thing. It's also an area where people are actually like, people generally are pretty happy to spend money on like aesthetic things, like a new bathroom and a new kitchen and all that. So when the kitchen's being done, like getting the sweet range hood, or your range hood's fine, but like, for $1,000, we actually have to drop it a foot lower. Look, imagine they took a pot of water, start boiling. Like I showed you use your back burner last time and that stuck. So with some people, it's like, the range hood needs to come down a foot. So these are the guys that are in your home right now, already there, that, the spray foaming in the attic, the UV lights, the ERVs, the HRVs, a lot of these tools exist, but the tools are like, what good is an instrument if there's no musicians? So all these tools exist, but the people, there's the HVAC industry, and I'm so excited to disrupt it. Like, I'm so excited. You just can't start a furnace company on day one. So our whole, we used to be called Jaspr Medical when I launched in 2020 for the first 2 years. Remember a great marketer named Dean Jackson, he goes, if you put medical at the end of your domain and you have a high price, you don't need any reviews to get started. It's true. And it was during COVID when we started, so we were only selling to doctors and dentists anyway. And it's extra true if you already have 500 doctors using your product. That really, and then we've been able to get price down and all that. But I forget where I was going with that.
I do too, but I know plenty of other places to go. I think we all know what happens when supply chains break down. Things you rely on to thrive and even survive don't get where they need to go when you need them. Your vascular system is also a supply chain, and if we don't keep it open and flowing, it could be headed for a breakdown. Here's the deal. Your body runs on one thing, circulation. It's how oxygen gets to your brain, nutrients reach your muscles and organs, and your heart keeps everything moving. But when your vascular system slows down, it's like a supply chain bottleneck, so deliveries don't arrive on time, systems start failing, and over time, nothing moves the way it should. So you could start experiencing low energy, brain fog, muscle fatigue, and even dull skin and poor complexion. And that's why you need to check out the Vascular Health Bundle from Calroy. Calroy's got 2 flagship products that are both awesome. They've got one called Arterisol HP and Vascanox HP, and they work together to restore efficient circulation and prompt your blood vessels to open up so nutrients can actually get delivered. This one's a no-brainer, guys. We need blood, energy, and vitality moving through the body. So if you want to get moving, visit calroy.com/Luke and get your best price today. Pick up a 3-pack bundle and get a free canister of nitric oxide test strips to track your results. Remember, your vascular system is the highway of life, so make sure to keep those lanes open. That's calroy.com, calroy.com/Luke. One thing that I think was really interesting in our prior conversation, which we'll link to, of course, in the show notes at lukestory.com/air, was the range hoods where the venting goes nowhere. When we were building this house, we rented an apartment, and I didn't really think about it at the time, but I did after you shared this with me. There was there was a range hood fan, but then I could see the top of the cabinets and there was nothing coming out of it. It was like not going anywhere. Like, where's that going? Is that just a total scam? I mean, is
This is awareness, right?
Is there any kind of like filtration even happening? Because you want it ideally like going out the top of your house, right? Not
outside.
Even out.
Ventilation has to leave the house.
Right.
It can't go into the cabinet.
Not into the crawl space of the cabinet.
But literally a lot of them, especially in apartments, you're talking like there's a cabinet above it. You open it. If you put your hand there, that air is just coming out there. There's no filtration system in range edge to answer your question.
Oh, okay.
No, there's not. So yeah, you wanna suck it out of the stove area and then push it outside the home. So it can go out to the attic and then out. That's often a pretty like straight shot in a normal path. Right. Or if it just goes to your attic itself needs to be breathing a lot. Often it doesn't. Same thing with the bathroom fans. It just goes into your attic. So you're like, you shower, you turn on your bathroom fans, you're like, I'm venting, I don't want to get mold. And you get a moldy attic instead. So yeah.
Wow.
That's one.
That's crazy. Another thing about the range hood too that I didn't realize is I don't really cook a lot, and I definitely don't enjoy it, and I'm not good at it. So it's not been part of my life other than where it's necessary. But I didn't even realize that the fan on your range was for the fumes of the gas you're using. I thought it was just for the smell of the bacon or whatever you're cooking. I think you were the one that told me, you're like, no, dude, that's because when you burn propane or you burn natural gas, there's exhaust, just like when you burn any fuel, and that just fills your house up with.
It doesn't perfectly combust. So I've never tested a home, and they say there's like safe levels of carbon monoxide, and maybe that's true, maybe it's not. But I've never tested a home that doesn't have ambient amounts of carbon monoxide all the time. Usually around 0.5 parts per million. I can't say how much that is a problem, but like I prefer zero.
Yeah.
I prefer zero. So yeah, that's a funny one. And it's kind of like the bathroom too. People think bathroom fans are for poop smells. I'm like, I guess it helps for that too, but it's for the humidity. It's because if you shower, think about how much water you can suck up with a towel. Not to mention what's sitting in the floor of the shower or the bath or whatever. That's like, it could be a gallon of water that you could soak up into a sopping wet towel. So that water has to go somewhere. So if there's two people, let's say you have a family of 4 and everybody's showering in a day, that's 4 gallons of water just going into, of course there's mold, bathrooms are moldy. It's not usually because of like plumbing issues, it's because you don't vent it out. So a lot of the times, like we have the bathroom fans installed. Are they venting outside, and are we actually using them? And that's where this awareness, it really needs to be top down and bottom up, because like, especially with the purchasing of homes, it breaks my heart. You know, when you bought this home, did you get a home inspection?
Yes.
Do you remember that process at all?
Pain in the ass.
So you call, you pay $400, $500, $800.
I think it was around 8. Yeah.
The really good guy. You didn't want the cheap one. You're like, this is the most expensive thing I've ever bought in my life.
I think we actually paid extra for a mold test specifically too. That wasn't even part of the.
This is new. This is a new thing that
inspection.
very few home inspectors are. By the way, I got certified as a home inspector. I'm just like, I got to see what the training's like. It was like 3-day course online that I did like in the evening. And then I'm a certified home inspector. What? So you mean the people who are inspecting the most expensive things that people buy is like a evening course that you can do? Same thing. When I became a certified mold remediator, it was a 2-day course. Very long lunch breaks. Like it was a joke. It was like same thing when I did the fire restoration course. It was all like, I remember it was like a half an hour video where they showed you like, if you put a cigarette in a garbage can, how the whole home will burn down within like half an hour. It's like, that's great. But like very little of the time was actually teaching me how to restore someone's home after a fire. Like give me some training. There was no practical hands-on stuff. It's a 2-day course. And then you go downstairs to the store and they sell you all your stuff you need to get started. Who do you think, by the way, the only people that teach mold restoration courses are the companies who sell mold cleaning supplies. That's where the lessons happen.
Ah, interesting.
That's the education department.
It's the old fox guarding the hen house.
That's who teaches you.
Huh.
And then often the teachers are the people who work for the companies who sell the products.
Oh yeah. So this is a good one for the listeners. I think I've heard, it might've been you or someone else told me that if you're doing a mold inspection on the house, you should do it with a company that only does the inspection and not remediation, because of the chicken and hen house thing, where a company could come in and if they're less than scrupulous or just incompetent, you could end up, getting kind of false positives or a bad assessment because they want to sell you their remediation.
Generally, this is a good idea, but for some reason, as a society, we choose where this rule applies and doesn't apply. Like, it's so funny. So with the mechanic in your vehicle, it's very normal that it's one guy. You go in, is my car broken? Yep, your thing's messed up, your catalytic converter, your brakes. So for cars, it's a one-stop shop. Eye doctor, for whatever reason, it's always the optometrist is right beside the eye store. Like, that one is a conflict. So the eye doctor doesn't typically sell glasses. But with, when you go down the list with accountant, you go to the tax man. Hey, how bad am I looking? And then he charges you. You go to the lawyer. I want you to assess my situation. So societally, we choose which industries are acceptable and not acceptable for this conflict thing. Mm-hmm. It's very strange. There's no reason why the lawyer, the optometrist, the mold, the human behavior is the same across the board. There's no, for example, usually the home inspector is not the renovation contractor, but you kind of wish he was. Like, if your home inspector was a great guy and he's like, hey, look, you have like all these cracks. I can have my guys come out Tuesday. If he was a good guy, you'd want him now. So I've seen really honest mold remediation companies, and they could be like, because like watch me flip that conflict on its head for a second. He's like, look, I charged you $1,000 to do this mold test to remove my conflict. If I did it for now, the mold, what's also suspect is when the mold remediator comes out, and like any contractor, he has free. Your HVAC guy, your heat's not working, your AC's not working. You call the furnace man, and then he tells you need a new furnace. You didn't call the like furnace inspector technician guy. You could have called one furnace company and be like, look, no matter what, I'm not hiring you. Charge me a few $100s for an unbiased inspection. And in insurance land, that's what you do. You actually would hire a roofing inspector or a roofer. Like, it's this kind of strange thing. At the end of the day, it comes down to like people you trust, because how many, like most air quality companies or mold testing companies are going to recommend 1 to 3 vendors, and they're going to have a kickback model in place.
Ah, I see.
It's the affiliate model. They're mold affiliates. So same kind of deal. In fact, when there's 2 of them going, they can actually be it's perceived less bias. And it's become part of the sales pitch. Like, use us and trust us. And we use third-party laboratories. It's like, if I trust you, I'd prefer you to handle as much of this as possible. So that's where it's kind of this strange situation that I don't believe is necessarily always true. It just comes down to like, yeah, there's no systematic move that you can make here to avoid being screwed over by people.
It's situational.
It's very much
and
so.
based on trust. I think that's one thing I've learned is how important referrals are, right? Not just reading reviews that could be a plant posting them on Google or something, but if you're going to spend a considerable amount of money on something, to be like, hey, can I talk to 2 of your customers? And see what their experience was like.
And like, if you're getting a home built, it's like, no one does it, but like, not unreasonable, be like, hey, can I actually go to one of your, it's like you're making the biggest purchase of your life. It's like people make $1 million decisions, and then the realtor's like, you got to make an offer today or you're going to lose the house. You're like, what other thing would this apply to? Like your car, if you're buying a business, there's like months of due diligence and bank statements and meeting the team. But with the home, you're like, quick, we've created this whole industry where the buyers and sellers are both applying pressure on both sides to get you to panic and buy a home. And sometimes it's a hot market. It's like, what are we doing here? So then you get the home inspector.
Oh, man.
So usually in the standard waiver liability that a home inspector gives you, it says this is not environmental. So anything behind walls, anything environmental, anything fungal, asbestos, roofing is not subject to this. So the average person spending $500, $800, generally what the home inspector is looking for is things that are going to affect your wallet. How old is the roof? Is there like, do the plugs work? Like these like few $100 items, maybe like how old's the water heater? Honestly, like kind of stuff that anyone who's owned a home could probably just check for themselves. I mean, there's nothing wrong with getting the inspection done. Usually it's more of a negotiation technique.
Yeah.
You'd also argue that, is it a conflict if the buying agent refers you a home inspector? Kinda, because they're like, yo, please don't tell them about this thing. We're going to lose the deal. So it happens everywhere. But the home inspectors, so someone's spending $500, $800 to look for a hidden cost, but like not checking the air, not checking for mold, not checking for bacteria, not looking if the lighting is bad. Like no one's doing an environmental EMF. Yeah. Like what about an environmental home inspection? So this is another market that I would love to see emerging. Once again, I don't think we need the home inspectors are usually great. And they're usually like retired guy. He's like in his 50s. He's sick of crawling in attics and doing manual labor. He's like, I'm just going to be a home inspector. It's way less stressful. That dude would be the best air tester. Often they're the best people. They understand homes, humidity, construction, building science. There's no reason why that person is not the same person who's doing the air testing and the mold testing. We don't need a whole separate industry. As a guy who did air testing for 8 years, we didn't need to exist.
Right.
And we should not.
You just reminded me of a situation in which I hired an inspector. This is, 20 years ago. I was going to buy a house in LA when we were kind of in the real estate boom there. And I found it was like 400 grand or something. I found like a really cheap, busted down house. And I was like, oh, I'll flip it or something like that, right? I totally didn't know what I was doing, but I had the wherewithal at least to get the inspection. So it was like an Echo Park kind of in the hood at the time. It's probably like,
fully gentrified
probably
now.
10x, in value by now. Anyway, guy comes and does the inspection. I'm kind of sitting on the porch waiting for him. He comes out. I go, hey, what do you think, man? He kind of looked at me, I was like, to see if anyone's listening. He whispers, do not buy this house, man. He goes, get out of here. I was like, what's up? He goes, the electrical's bad. The plumbing's bad. The roof is bad. I mean, he just named like all the really big expensive things. He goes, man, this place is like a disaster. Get out. And thankfully he told me that, because if he would have given it, well, it's okay, it needs a little work, I might have gotten myself stuck in something that ended up being, a money pit. So I had one honest inspector.
No, there's good. They're great. It's generally a pretty honest industry.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that the training and the courses and the licensing, like I remediated hundreds of homes from mold. I learned that by doing it. I learned that by working with experienced people. My wife is a nurse. She's like, I learned nothing about nursing in nursing school. I learned nursing by nursing.
Right.
Like it's like you could, imagine you studied how to shoot a 3-pointer in basketball for 10 years. You studied the book every day, 4 hours a day, reading about how to shoot a jump shot versus a guy who's just been shooting jump shots for 3 days and he's never read a book about basketball before. You still can't shoot a jump shot no matter how many books you read. And that analogy really like hits home for a lot of stuff. That's like, just go shoot some jumpers. Don't read books on how to shoot them. And this is like most things in school, I think.
Yeah, great point. I want to ask you about a little bit of a niche topic here.
Okay.
When you've done testing here, and I've hung out with you and seen you do, get out your little gadgets and test air. When we were at the vent we were talking about earlier, you were testing the CO2 in the air, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm always like, oh man, we don't want CO2. I think of CO2 as something you don't want to be breathing in your home. So fast forward, a couple years from when I learned that from you, I started researching CO2 as a therapy, right? And dug into it. There's some pretty solid science behind it. So I bought a whole system from a company called Carbogenics, and it's like basically a mixture of pure CO2, like in a tank that you get from a home brewing place, which I always run out really fast. I need a bigger tank. But there's two ways there's a number of ways you can do it, but I have like an inhaler, right? It's like if anyone's seen the movie Blue Velvet with Dennis Hopper, he's got like a cannula mask, and you basically huff the CO2, and then you can also, there's like a full body suit that's kind of like a puffy wetsuit, and you suck all the air out of it, so it's like skin tight, like shrink wrap, and then you fill it up and inflate it with CO2, and you just chill in that. And both of those therapies, I mean, I could, rattle off a number of, proven health benefits, but subjectively what I like about it, it's super, super relaxing. It puts you in a very solid parasympathetic state. It's like you just took a Xanax. I mean, it's incredible. But every time I'm doing it, I'm like, yeah, but Mike said CO2 is bad for you. Have you looked into like acute CO2 therapy like that, where you're intentionally really saturating the body with it versus ambient levels that over time probably aren't great?
So CO2, first of all, this is a good point. It's actually a fun one. I don't get to talk about this.
Have you heard of the CO2 therapy thing?
Totally,
okay, I didn't know if you even were aware of it.
I am. So a couple examples come to mind. Number one, cold therapy. I like cold plunging, but I wouldn't want to be in there for half an hour. I like saunas. I don't want to live in a sauna. So there's a lot of things that in limited doses, what is exercise? Like, you wouldn't want to keep that weight on forever. Like, there's a lot of things where in acute experience with that. So CO2, for example, outdoor carbon dioxide, for anyone who's not very CO2 aware, CO2 is carbon dioxide. The outdoor CO2 is about 400. Inside, 600 to 800. Once it gets over 1,000 PM, the parts per million of CO2, brain fog is kicking in. Fatigue is kicking in. So brain fog and fatigue are pretty bad if you want to get some work done. But brain fog is fine if you want to go to bed. So another thing is like when I was living in British Columbia, we had baseboard heaters and heat pumps, not a HVAC system. We'd close our door at night to keep the cats out of the room for all their allergens. And the CO2 was getting up to 3,300. Remember, 600 to 800 is normal. 1,000 is when negative health effects start happening. We were getting it over 3,000. I was sleeping 10 hours a night, waking up exhausted.
Interesting.
So if I wasn't tracking my sleep or paying attention, I was sleeping like a log. I'm sleeping 10 hours a night. But I couldn't heal or rest or recover at 3,000 plus. By the way, carbon dioxide, when they talk about greenhouse gas emissions and climate change and all this stuff, what they actually mean is the outdoor CO2 is going up. So imagine being in an elevator, a long elevator with like 7 or 8 people, and you're happy to get out. Or you're at like a party, and then you're like, I just got to get some fresh air. What you're really saying is the CO2 in here is too high. The feeling of stuffy, just all you're saying is carbon dioxide is high. So when we were in that room at David's, I remember being at an event. There's a wellness event in New York. And I'm noticing it was like a 6-hour all day event. And it was like hour 2. And I'm noticing people are leaving. I'm like, why is this? The event's pretty nice. I happen to have my CO2 monitor. I'm like, shit, it's 2,500. People don't even know why. It's subconscious. They just got to get out of here. They're antsy. They're agitated. They're unhappy. This is like a defense mechanism. I need some air to breathe. So I start like at a David's event that we were at. I start opening windows and doors, and I'm observing it, watching. Oh, I'm seeing everybody fade. Everybody's yawning. So I open up some windows, and the carbon dioxide drops. Or if you ever gone on a long road trip, carbon dioxide can get over 3,000 when you're in your car, because the HVAC. If you're just sitting there, it's okay. But if you're talking or singing, the car wasn't designed for that. Especially if you have that recirculate mode on. What is that doing? It's like closing the fresh air intake. So carbon dioxide gets over 3,500. You're on a road trip and you're getting tired. You're like opening your window, like, I just need some cold air. Like, no, you just needed to purge the CO2. So acutely, it makes sense to me. It's a stressor. It makes total sense. And I believe that there's many therapies and situations where putting your body under controlled stress for a reasonable period of time. It's like people who do hyperbaric chambers, or they train in altitude and then they come down to perform. But if they had to perform at altitude, they wouldn't do so good. So what you're referring to, there's different things like this for breath work and all kinds of stuff. And it makes sense to me. I haven't gone deep down the rabbit hole and I haven't studied the literature, but it makes sense that in acute intentional doses, it would be like any other resistance therapy. Yeah. But you don't want to sleep in it. Yeah. You don't want to live in it.
That's a great way to frame it. I'm going to get a little personal here, you guys. Are you feeling bloated, gassy, sluggish, and constantly hungry? The real problem might not be what you're eating. It could be what's missing. Check it out. Most modern diets are loaded with sugar and processed crap, but they've stripped out the essential bitter compounds that our bodies need for proper digestion. So now a lot of people are turning to synthetic GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic to control appetite and blood sugar. So it's sort of like Big Food took the bitters out of our diet and replaced them with sugar, and now Big Pharma wants to sell us drugs to fix the problem. But why take a drug with possible side effects when nature, of course, already has the answer? Digestive bitters are a remedy that stood the test of time, and the most comprehensive formula out there comes from Just Thrive. Their digestive bitters harness 12 time-tested herbs, each with unique digestive benefits, and they work with our body to promote bile flow, support smooth digestion, and enhance nutrient absorption. If I pop 2 capsules of these bitters with my biggest meal, I walk away feeling energized and satisfied, which is how you're supposed to feel after you eat. And it also works wonders for proper elimination too. So hop over to justthrivehealth.com and use the code Luke20 to save yourself 20%. Because it turns out the real solution wasn't in a lab, it was in nature all along. Again, that's justthrivehealth.com, and the code is Luke20. Speaking of living in it, you just reminded me of something that I was looking into a few years ago. And I think it's marketed toward people, older people that live at high altitudes. And it's, I forget the name of the company. I have it bookmarked somewhere, but there are probably a number of them at this point. But essentially it's like an oxygen concentrator that goes up somewhere in your attic and vents into your vent in the bedroom. And so that while you sleep, you're sleeping in a high oxygen environment, like the oxygen level that would be present at sea level or something like that. It's kind of an anti-aging hack. Have you looked into kind of infusing environments with oxygen? Because when you talk about people starting to fade and get tired, first thing I thought of was Las Vegas casinos. I don't know if this is true, but I've always heard
used to say
they
that.
pump oxygen in to like keep everyone alert. And I'm imagining if there's like large groups of people in a building like that, and you want to keep extracting their money, you wouldn't want a high CO2 environment where everyone's getting tired. You want high oxygen. And to your point of like waking up groggy after 11 hours of sleep because of high CO2, if you're in a room sleeping with high oxygen, or at least adequate oxygen, it seems like it would be healthier and you'd be more refreshed.
So first of all, I can't believe I haven't done this yet, but the next time I go to Vegas for a conference or something, I'll bring my oxygen tester in there. Yeah. Let's just figure this out once and for all.
Because you've heard that too, right?
Oh yeah, they pump out oxygen to keep you awake. I'm like, is it the bright lights? Is it the alcohol? Is it the noise? Is it the stimulation? Is there some like legal amount of like amphetamines they pump in the air? I don't know, but I'll do the oxygen test next time, and I'll send you the results so you can let everybody know. So I've actually experienced being in a hotel room with an oxygen generator in Peru, in Cusco. Before I did my Machu Picchu hike, they typically have you acclimate there for a few days, and like you get there and it's like the mountains in America are tiny. Yeah. Their like base was like 13,000 feet. The peak was 30-something.
We just got back
feet.
from the Andes 2 weeks ago.
Yo, those are real mountains.
Yeah, legit. But we brought little oxygen canisters. Very helpful.
Yeah, they work. So the hotels there at altitude typically have, some of them either have like standard levels of oxygen that they're adding in the room, or if you're suffering from altitude sickness, they can increase the oxygen in your room.
Wow.
So, and then all of a sudden your altitude sickness is going to be gone, or they can actually like, you can be like, can you start me, like my first night, I just got here, hit me with the oxygen on night one, and then like, let's decrease it over the next few days. So I've experienced seeing it in hotels in mountain towns, and I'm interested in that actually.
Yeah. I mean, I think if, you say you live at 8,000 feet in Colorado or something, to me, it would make sense to just.
It's no different than getting a humidifier when it's dry.
Yeah.
It's like the oxygen's low. Like, let's subsidize this thing.
Yeah.
So that passes the sniff test of worthy of further inquiry.
Okay.
The red flags are not going off.
Good. Okay,
green flags are,
because I was all about
waving.
Even living at sea level. I was like, I'm going to get it just to optimize, and then whatever, it was expensive, and I kind of dropped it. What about humidity? I think that's obviously something here in Texas, if you live in Florida or somewhere it's really humid, tropical areas. That's an issue. So a lot of people will have dehumidifiers. But speaking of Colorado, when I would go visit my dad in Colorado in the summer, I'd start getting dry skin and a runny nose, and I would just get destroyed by the dry air. So I'd have to run humidifiers. So what do you think, is a practical way to test the humidity levels in your house, and how would one best find the sweet spot depending on if you live in a dry environment or a humid one?
So the same way so humans have the most amazing sensors in our skin, on our tongues, in our, like, all over. We're just these sensor machines. If you think about it, I love doing it. It's a very fun game. If you're ever with a few people, primarily in the morning where no one's looked yet. But right now, or if you go outside and you ask everybody you're with, like, write down on your phone or on a piece of paper what temperature you think it is outside right now. I've gone and you ask 5 people and like everyone's within 2 degrees. Like, no one's going to say 60 Fahrenheit and someone else says 100. You won't even see a 90, 70. Typically, it's like, we know because we usually all look at the weather daily. So we've really calibrated our sin sensors to a number that we call, Celsius or Fahrenheit. Like right now, we know it's It's probably somewhere between 69 and 73 degrees, maybe on the cooler side. Feels like about 69 to 71 Fahrenheit in here right now. I'd be shocked if it was 65 or 75. We'd be hot or cold.
Yeah, true.
So like we know that.
Yeah.
The same thing, you can apply this to more areas of your life. So we're so impressed by the shark or the whale who can smell blood from miles away like a hound dog. I think we all have a little hound dog in us. So if I closed your eyes right now and blindfolded you, and I took an old dirty diaper pail or a bag of like stinky trash and put it anywhere in the home, we could blindfold you and you could find that bag very quickly.
My wife could find it if it was like 4 miles down the road.
You could find it because you could.
Have you noticed women, or I don't know if this is true, but like in her case, she can smell stuff I cannot detect whatsoever.
Yeah, I think it's like this like innate thing to like assess risk for the family.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Like they're like the ones who are more heightened awareness of these types of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have. This was a problem growing up. I was living in Canada, and like, man, my mom could smell the weed from down the street.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Holy shit! I'm like, yo, I don't even have any. Can you find it?
Yeah.
I thought I'm out. Like if you
funny.
smell it, it must be somewhere, and she'd find it. And so
humidity.
Yeah, man, you can, if you go, so we know what hot and cold feels like. That's the most acute thermal comfort. If we go into the desert, it feels dry, or the mountains, it feels dry. Rainforest, it feels humid. Dry sauna, dry. Steam room, humid. I would say the humidity in here right now is like, I'd say 47% or so. 45 to 55 is the sweet spot. That's where you want to be. Over 60%, we start having mold growth. But under 40%, we start having rhinitis, ozone, allergens. So too dry is problematic too. You start drying out and a lot of other things start happening. It's bad for your skin, bad for your throat. And if your throat is not sufficiently moistened, it's not catching a lot of the stuff. You get way more sick. You want to have hydrated airways.
Oh, right.
There's actually a product I use.
That's interesting. I never thought about that.
That I use to inhale that hydrates your airways. It's called Fend. It's pretty cool. I haven't gone deep into the science, but like I definitely feel good using it before flights and stuff. And so we know kind of what humidity is. So what's fun is if you the same way you check temperature every day, if you looked at the relative humidity every day, within 3 months, you would be able to tell me the relative humidity just as good as you could tell me the temperature. So because I usually have my carbon dioxide detector on me, I can tell you right now the CO2 in here is about 570 to 600. If you have one, we'll check after. But like, it's like a party trick for me. Like, what's the CO2? Like, I can tell because of the ease of breath. If it starts getting harder, it's a little bit more constricted when you breathe, which is why if you go outside in a lot of people's homes that aren't well ventilated, outside, fresh air, even if it's like an allergen-filled day and like a bit smoky and it's rush hour, like, it's...
You know, that's very true. And I know that because I've been working with the CO2 inhaler for a while, and if you turn it up to a high concentration, you get hella out of breath. I mean, it's like you were just like doing a HIIT training and you're just sitting on your ass. It's crazy. It's really hard to breathe it.
Yeah.
It fatigues the hell out of you.
Exactly.
That's probably why it's so relaxing.
Of course, that's why it's relaxing.
It's like in 5 minutes, you just felt like you meditated for 2 hours. You know, it's really interesting. But it is very hard to breathe. I mean, it takes like, you know.
And you also, I believe you feel so good because then it's the same as like, why do you like nature? Like, it's just, if you close your eyes, you still like it. Even if you close your eyes and plugged your ears, you'd still like nature. What's going on here? The air is great. That's what's happening. When you're in the presence of trees, you feel awesome. The air is the cleanest, freshest air ever. So even though the outdoor carbon dioxide is about 400, when you're like in a thick forest, it's like 360, 370. It's lower.
Oh, wow.
So you can develop the ability to actually notice these things. And to me, that's true air awareness. So like if you walk into a home, you're like, oh, it's disgusting. It smells in here. Why does a filthy home smell? Because that dirt, that garbage it's airborne. Everything that you see, every surface is also anything. If you go close to it, you can smell it because it's being aerosolized constantly. That's why things have smells. You clean the home and it doesn't smell anymore. So yeah, I think people really, if you can kind of tune in. So to answer your question, I just like to really always take a moment to like shine all the light on air awareness, just to like admire that our bodies have all this tech involved. So a great mold detector doesn't even use a testing kit anymore. Like, Ryan Blazer. We joke he'd go into a home for these like $10,000 high-end audits, and he's one of the best in the biz, if not the best, at assessing a home. He's like, in the first 10 minutes, you know everything already from your own sensor, because he's calibrated. He's looked around a home.
Right.
He's run his gadget. He's like, at that point, the homeowner would be pissed if they paid all this money for me to come out. And after 10 minutes, I'm just like, get an air filter, get a water filter. There's mold there.
Yeah.
See ya. No, they want the data, but it's not really necessary. The best mold detector is the mold dog. We have a lot of those same features built in, and the further you go down the path that you're on of filtered water and filtered air and low EMF, like, I wouldn't be surprised if you could feel EMF right now.
Oh, I definitely can.
You feel it.
On airplanes, I get smoked. That's where I really notice it.
Or if you're in busy cities.
Like Wi-Fi enabled airplanes.
If you were in a Manhattan hotel versus the rainforest, even with your headphones on with white noise and an eye mask and an air purifier, you can feel that energy of that city.
Yeah,
Is it people, is it the EMF, is it the whatever it is, but like your body is now more receptive to it. A lot of people aren't. That's why until you start drinking filtered water, you have no awareness. You can't taste the chlorine in the water. You can't taste the hardness. Until you start breathing filtered air at home, you don't go into hotels and smell mold and VOCs and fragrances everywhere. But I bet now you probably don't even go in Ubers.
Oh, I can't do it.
The Christmas
the
tree
black
of death.
ice air freshener, dude. Back in the day when I did use Ubers, I'd get so annoyed. I'd like go on Twitter and tweet at them like, "Would you guys ban these fucking air fresheners?" Fresheners,
Air freshener is more search than air purifier.
Dude, I was watching. I rarely watch. I rarely watch TV in general, but if I do, it's like something I'm streaming, so there's no commercials. But I was watching something the other day. I forget. Maybe I was on the airplane actually. I think I was on a flight, and there was a commercial running. It was like for these Febreze plugins, and I'm like, what? People use I'm just like, dude, if I walk in a room and it smells like that, I mean, I almost like want to throw up. I mean, I have such a strong aversion and sensitivity.
Well, I'm working on that problem. So I've started the biggest focus for Jaspr this year is, first of all, I'm going to be doing some awareness this year about air fresheners and Ubers.
Oh,
whole like ban the Kellogg's, ban the like red dye.
Yeah.
I want to do the ban the air freshener.
Thank you.
Or at the very least get a filter in the Uber so you can at least hit the box for scent-free Ubers. And then I'm also working now. So for the last few years, every time I go to a hotel, I test the air. Sometimes for mold, I look at the VOCs, I do particulate testing, I test the carpet, I test the bedding, and I travel with my Jaspr. So then I run the Jaspr for 30 minutes. You see the air get 95% cleaner. I'm like, thank God. And then lately I've been sending that report to the general manager of the hotel.
Epic, dude.
And then I offered to
You're like the air quality Karen. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't know what the male equivalent of Karen is. Maybe Ken or something.
Maybe. I'm doing it, but I'm doing something different.
Epic.
I'm doing something that Karen would never do.
Actually fixing the problem?
I offered them a free Jaspr for every room of the hotel.
What?
Yeah, man. This is what I'm doing right now. So actually, when we were in the car today, the first hotel actually said, let's go. So we're setting them up in April. I'll give them a shout out. It's called the Carillon Hotel in Miami. The Carillon Wellness Hotel in Miami.
I mean, you're sending
Dude,
them,
they have biocharger. And
so you're
shit.
sending them like 400 friggin' Jaspers?
So they have 91 rooms. I'm going to send them about 110 for their massage rooms, for every single hotel room, for this 2 per suite.
I mean, you're a nice guy, right? I think you're a good-hearted person.
Nothing to do with being a nice guy.
Well, no, but that's where I'm going with this. I mean, I'm sure you like to make a living like the rest of us, but you're a heart-centered dude. I know you a bit. I think you're an authentically caring person, right? But is the idea there, aside from you being a caring person, that everyone that stays in the hotel is going to be like, wow, it feels and smells awesome in here. What's that thing? And go buy one? Okay.
Just like the contractor gives free estimates.
Got it. Okay.
When we go to if you come to like, when we're at like a trade show or something, a wellness show, biohacking show, okay, I could show you the Jaspr, like cleaning the incense. You could see it going up, but you can't have the felt sense. We have like almost an 100% success rate if I let someone try a Jaspr in their bedroom. So like, it's a feasible business model for us to drive around a city and let people borrow Jaspers for a week at home. I started going down the rabbit hole of Coca-Cola's business model. I was getting my that annoying thing done every year in Texas where you have to like get like an emissions test for like $10 in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm noticing in the waiting room they have a Coca-Cola machine. I'm like, what is there's no way these guys drop like 10 grand on a vending machine. So I looked into it, and like their main path is they put the Coca-Cola vending machine there for free, and they give the business gets to have cold drinks for their customers. They don't have to like stock the drinks. Coca-Cola will handle that, and they get like 10% of the revenue. So I'm like, the idea came before the Coca-Cola thing, but I'm like, okay, so I know, because when I travel with it, that's how much I need it. By far the most requested thing people ask us about is, can you please make a travel size Jaspr? And I'm like, no, because a travel size Jaspr would be a Jaspr that doesn't work. It has to be the size that it is. So I will not make it. And I said,
which for those listening, what, it's about like 3 feet tall?
Smaller, 30 inches, two and a half feet.
Okay.
12 inches in diameter. So floor plan wise, it actually takes up more room than the average air purifier. And like, that's pretty useless floor space, that extra foot of height. It's like a condo. It's not like we go up instead of out. So yeah, the idea is like the hotel provides, in some hotels, by the way, they charge you like an extra $95 or $100 a night to put an air purifier in your room. First of all, they're usually like $200 garbage air purifiers. Second of all, them alone charging you extra for an air purifier admits that their air is shit. Like, they're like, we giving you this room for $800 with crappy air. If you want less crappy air, it'll be $900. They don't give you an upsell on memory foam for the shitty bed. Like, you're paying all this money, and hotels are very expensive, and the cleaning companies use really harsh chemicals. They got nasty carpets. A couple of them have filtered water. Most of them don't. So I'm like, they're in the sleep business, and if you want to have good sleep, you need a comfortable bed, no bright lights, dark, quiet, and clean air, and ideally cool air. And they're all completely missing this whole clean air part. So I was like, hey guys, selling to hotels, man, is like selling to the government. They're all owned by like PE firms, and they're very, very cheap. I'm like, fine, I don't even want to sell you guys stuff. And this hotel, by the way, they're the coolest. Their management team, their staff, they're caring. Like, they're actually awesome. They probably would have bought them. So I said, look, I hate traveling with my Jaspr. Like, I just don't want to do this anymore. And I've been testing the air now for years, and I'm starting to get more people testing the air and building it up. So in the next couple of years, we're going to launch like a TripAdvisor of hotel air. So you'll be able to find the scent-free, mold-free hotels. And what I realized was, so yeah, if you sleep with the Jaspr, especially like fan speed 2 or 3 on dark mode, little tangent, we did a study since we've chatted last with Aura rings. So we gave 150 Jaspers to people who've been testing their sleep consistently for years. And the 150 people, Jaspr in their bedroom, the door had to be shut or at least just cracked a little bit open. Sometimes pet people like to let their dogs in at night. And the average person slept 27 minutes more per night, 18% deeper sleep, and they fell asleep 5 minutes faster.
Wow.
So when people had that, and then the best thing was at the end of it, the amount of people, and this was free units from a trial, almost like the vast majority of them bought additional units. So it was so cool that from a business perspective, we can give away a free product, and then everybody bought more that paid for the free ones.
I mean, that's been my experience. I mean, full disclosure, you didn't charge me for mine, which thank you very much. I appreciate that. I think I got you early enough where
you got me early.
Yeah, thanks to it was Ryan Blazer actually. But we had one at first, and I was like, this is awesome in the bedroom, but like I spend most of my time when I'm not sleeping in my freaking office. Then I got one in there, and now we have, I think, 3.
And that happened. You had the first Jaspr before we even did a podcast together. Yeah. And that's the whole thing. I call it proven marketing. I'm like, if you have a product that works, the best marketing is getting it into people's homes. Like, you have a podcast. You talk to the internet to a lot of people who care about health every day.
Yeah.
So,
but now I couldn't go without it.
It's like what I was telling you before.
I don't fly with my Jaspr because I have so much other shit that I drag around with me to feel
it's cheaper
great.
For me than for you too.
Yeah, exactly. But man, I miss clean air when I travel. I'm like,
it's a big deal, and it
you
doubles as a white noise machine.
To like a product, I would say I'm addicted to yours because it's just.
Thank you.
You don't know the difference, right? I mean, I've had, and I've been using air purifiers. Oh man, 25 or more years. I started out with the Austin Air, like the HEPA one. It's in my garage now. I got retired when you came out with yours. I've had the Air Doctor. I mean, I've had a bunch of different ones, and it's just like, I don't know. one issue is they look really ugly. You solve that. The other issue is they don't test the air and turn, up or down depending on the air quality, which is a cool feature. Like if I, light some incense in here, your freaking Jaspr is like red alert. So if I want to smell the incense, I have to go turn the Jaspr off because it'll filter it out so fast. I'm like, no, I want to smell that smell. So anyway, like most people with the pulse, I love the taste of coffee, but what I don't like is the jitters and crash that often come with it. So to solve this, I went looking for a morning drink that gives me lasting energy without those pesky side effects. Well, that's exactly what I found when I discovered the incredible Nandaka formula from Peak. Nandaka is made with fermented pu'er teas that give you slow-release caffeine for sustained energy while supporting a healthy gut at the same time. And the ceremonial-grade Peruvian cacao in Nandaka helps rev up your metabolism and makes the compounds in Nandaka even more bioavailable. And it goes without saying, to make something part of my morning routine, it's got to taste incredible too, and this one does. It's like a creamy, spiced hot chocolate. To make my morning drink, I throw 1 sachet in a cup and a half of hot water, froth it for a few seconds, and I'm good to go. And for a limited time, you can get 15% off Nandaka, plus a free rechargeable frother and cup over at peaklife.com/Luke. That's PIQUELIFE, peaklife.com/Luke. And by the way, Nandaka also comes loaded with a blend of highly concentrated functional mushrooms like chaga, reishi, cordyceps, and lion's mane. All these ingredients work together to relieve stress and improve your mood. Nandaka is an awesome morning ritual. In fact, I've got a cup sitting on my desk right now to power me through these promos. So to get your hands on some of this stuff, head over to peaklife.com/Luke and get 15% off Nandaka, plus your free frother and cup, all for a limited time. Let's circle back because we didn't close one loop, and that was the humidity. I think that's really important for people. So where we left off was like, hey, your body is a tester. Get to
Amazon.com.
Yeah.
Type in relative humidity tester.
Okay.
$20 to $50. It's one of the cheapest air testing gadgets there are.
Okay.
Don't trust the one on your thermostat too much. Get one, literally like a cheap one is fine. This is not a complicated sensor. It'll be under $50 for sure. And just make sure you're in that 45 to 55% range. Now, let's say your air. Now, if it's too humid, this is harder to deal with. Ventilation helps, bathroom fans, range hoods, opening windows. But if it's just like Houston or whatever and it's really humid and muggy, that's when, first of all, air conditioners naturally bring the humidity down. Some people even need dehumidifiers. You just want to be careful to not make it too dry. And because
are dehumidifiers something like a humidifier
HVAC.
that can be a small little device you just throw in the corner of the room?
Yes.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be a systemic,
it doesn't have
like
to be
whole
a big
house
system.
thing.
So you can do it in the bedroom. A lot of people put them in basements because basements are humid and moist. They put them in laundry rooms. And then typically they have a hose. So you either vent it into a drain, or not vent it. You drain it into a hose, or like into a drain in the floor, or into a sink or something.
Got it.
Or outside. Now, if you're using tap water or bottled water, I've even seen tests with RO, surprisingly. You've dealt with the humidity issue, but by aerosolizing the water, you put all this other harmful particulate in the air. So you have two choices. If you're using a humidifier, which a lot of people do because they are really helpful. You want to fix the dry. So it's like you said, it's dry. You're like, I went to a dry place to escape the mold, but then I'm getting dryness sickness. So I got the humidifier, but now I'm putting all this aerosols in the air. So you have two issues. Number one,
you're talking about like if you're taking chemical laden tap water, putting it in your humidifier, you're creating a gas chamber.
But even like bottled water, I even saw even RO somehow, it's not that great. Distilled water is perfect.
Right.
So if you, a fun test for anyone who does have Jaspers and a humidifier, if you put like tap water in your humidifier, which is like often when people travel, that's what they have, even if it's at home, your Jasper is going to go crazy. If you use distilled water, Jaspr is going to do nothing. So you either need to get distilled water every single time, or get a Jaspr or another air filter. Because if you are, it's okay. Like it's not horrible. And the Jaspr would be red all night long. So that's you'll probably take it off of smart mode because all those other, you want the humidity, but you don't want everything else being aerosolized.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that kind of is the humid situation.
That's a good case if you're using, a standalone a standalone humidifier rather. It would, you buy one thing, then you need another thing. This is kind of the way it goes if you want to be healthy in the modern world. But one thing, for an unrelated purpose, we got a water distiller, a little countertop thing. It's freaking awesome because I used to have to order jugs of distilled water for my hydrogen generators and my like chili pads, things that that require distilled water, and now I just make it. It's freaking awesome. I always have 2 gallons on tap and just keep it there. Sometimes I drink it even, if I'm on a like mineral free tangent or something. But that would be if you're using a humidifier on an ongoing basis, great thing to do would just be get a water distiller and then just have it going,
That's a good idea. I like that.
What about in the dehumidifier realm? I'm sitting here talking to you. I'm like, why didn't I ask you? So please don't tell me if I messed up and wasted a bunch of money, but
I will.
We had our, HVAC guys come. The 2 that we had were trash. So they show me the different options.
No shout out for them.
They show me the options ranging from X dollars to X dollars at the high end. And I kind of read all the features and stuff. I don't want Wi-Fi, I have certain...
Just take the humidity out of the air.
Certain criteria. And I was like, you know what? At the end, I said, just give me the number 1 platinum level. And I just financed it and I'm paying it off for like 5 years. You know what I mean? But I was like, I just want the best thing that doesn't break. And I also wanted them quiet. So outside, what's that thing called? The condenser?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's not... Ours sounded like you had a helicopter on either side of the house. If you're outside, it's just like a lot of noise pollution. So I got like the top of the line thing, but one of the features was, I think, some sort of humidity regulation built into it.
That would make sense.
Okay.
Like that. And the modern ones do have that.
Yeah.
Where it becomes a problem is your HVAC system is quite balanced. But sometimes you're in a home and like one room's hot and one room's cold. And that's because the thermostat's just blowing air throughout the whole home. So it's like making, the basement's too cold and the upstairs too hot because it's not well balanced.
Okay.
So let's say wherever the humidity sensor is more humid than another part of the home, it's still working and working and working, and it's working on overdrive. So that could be the issue. But much like a space heater or like Jaspr detects air, or your thermostat for your heat and cool works the same way. So because your air is fairly well balanced, your dehumidifier is probably only going to work in the summer here a little bit. And lately, because of the droughts in Texas, it hasn't even been humid the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But like it rained the last couple of days, so it's going to be humid now. So your dehu will probably kick on. No, you done good.
Okay, good. Whew. Sometimes, I know experts like you, and I go rogue and like make a decision, and then they're like, oh man, I wish you would have called me. You know what I mean? And that would have been an expensive mistake. But so it's cool. It's cool to know anyway, just to like put a bow on the humidity thing, right? Your body can work as a sensor. You can get one on Amazon that's super cheap. And then there are local, room by room ways.
There's room humidifiers. There's room dehumidifiers.
Right.
And often you don't need to go whole home, especially but the bed, like everything to me comes back to the bedroom with basically almost everything health related. To optimize your whole home is maybe $25K. And like, I'm just being broad, if you're doing the air and the water and all the light bulbs and everything, but doing your bedroom is like, get a good bed, get the air filter, get the humidifier, do the lights that you want to do. Like dialing in a bedroom and giving yourself like a sleep sanctuary, that's cheap.
100%.
That's cheap.
100%. I agree. That's been my motto for so many years. Non-toxic mattress, the Essentia mattress, get some good, non-blue light bulbs. Faraday your room or get some kind of EMF solution, bed cool.
That's recovery time.
I'm still a chili pad guy. Like, I don't know how people sleep anywhere that's remotely warm without having a cold bed. When I travel, I'm like, it's torture. Like, I'm so hot, dude, at night.
Yeah, you're just breathing shit and cooking.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, I'm with you, man. The bedroom. I mean, we spent like a third of our life.
Yeah,
in
a
bed.
Third in one spot.
Yeah.
So like, why'd you buy a home? You bought a home to like have a place to like hang out and sleep. So like, you spend $1 million on your home or more, and you're gonna have a crappy bedroom that makes you sick. This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, brutal.
Like maybe hold off on the next bathroom reno or painting, and make your bedroom a healthy place to sleep first.
Let's talk off-gassing.
Okay.
I just bought some furniture on Wayfair or whatever, a couple cabinets for my office, and because I'm such a hoarder of things, but I don't like clutter. It's an issue. So I'm just constantly buying freaking furniture.
Oh, that's funny.
And I got kind of the cheaper ones that are very manufactured wood particle board. And I opened the box and it's just like somebody just sprayed you in the face with cancer, you know? And so I'm like, a couple things I've done to mitigate specifically furniture, carpet, off-gassing, things like that. Well, one thing is just now I only buy wool carpets, which helps instead of synthetics. But two things I've done is this. Got the Jaspr in the house, right? So like that's going to suck up a lot of it. But still, if the Jaspr is not right next to said off-gassing furniture, then by the time it gets to the Jaspr, I probably already breathed it in, you know, especially in a small room. So one thing I've done is take my like an ozone generator and take the new said off-gassing thing out in the garage, close the garage and just blast it with ozone for like 28 to 48 hours straight. Seems to get rid of it. Same with new car smell. I've done that to new cars. Just shut the door with a freaking ozone generator on, go in 2 days later and the smell's gone permanently. It's pretty cool. But I just discovered something recently and I forget the name. I'll find it and give it to Jared. I think I got it on Amazon, but it's a non-toxic natural sealant that you can paint on particle board that, you know,
it's like
encapsulates the off-gassing, which is what I'm doing in the garage with that shit you guys helped me carry. That's the next cabinet that I got to treat. But it's very labor intensive, you know? So it's like you either pay exorbitant amounts of money and have limited design options from some of these great green companies. There is an emergence of companies that are like solid wood, real wood, no weird stains and lacquers and no particle board and formaldehyde and all that. But it's expensive. You don't have a lot of choices. So most of us are going to be buying furniture that is super toxic. Not everyone is going to be as psycho as me to go to the lengths that I go to get rid of it before I bring it in the home. And nightstands. That would be like the number one thing for me that you got to deal with, and whatever your bed's made of. But talk to us in general about the issue of like furniture, carpet off-gassing, building materials off-gassing, and like more practical ways to deal with that.
Yeah, so off-gassing. This is an interesting one. And when you think about how things are manufactured, supply chains are very efficient. Meaning, when you would be shocked when your Wayfair cabinet was the time that like the manufacturing process concluded until that's going in your room is a much smaller period of time than you're thinking. You know, they have it down to a science. So an item, a chair, a desk, a couch, whatever, it gets manufactured, gets sprayed, fire retardants, all that stuff. It's instantly like shrink wrapped, airtight, sealed. So there's no off-gassing process that occurs at the manufacturing facility. So then it gets quickly like shrink wrapped, put on a boat from China here, you know, gets to the port of LA, lands at some distribution center in an airtight box. And then within another week or so, it's here. So the off-gassing period, even though that furniture might be like 2 months old, it starts here. That's why when you open it and you got that can of cancer in the face, it's because or new car smell, like you get punched in the face with it. It's because that was like packaged so efficiently right after it was produced. So there's a couple things here. Number one, I'm not a huge fan of buying a lot of, like I would never buy a used bed. I would never buy a used couch. But I would buy a used dining table, real like wood stuff, particle board things. Oh, by the way, in Austin, the secondhand market of stuff is like incredible. Just like set the coordinates to Westlake, like just put the Jeep. Right. And people will have like $10,000 couches, like wrong size, $2,000. Just take it away. So there's people who moved to Austin.
I missed that in LA. I used to buy all my stuff on Craigslist. I mean, just get insane deals. I didn't think about the off-gas.
It's amazing.
If somebody's had that shit in their house for 5 years, it's like done.
Especially a baby's crib, man. So everyone's getting, you know, baby's coming soon, and they go and paint the nursery, like right before baby's born, buy the new dresser, the new table. I'm like, baby is living in off-gas city. And then you put a little diaper pail in there. So now we have poop particles and a bunch of VOCs. This is not optimal.
And an EMF baby monitor.
Oh yeah, a wearable. Those are dangerous. And
they have wearables for babies now?
Dude.
Oh God. I remember I just was doing some research on the baby monitors that run on Wi-Fi and stuff. And you're basically like, I don't know, maybe there's better ones now. And it's, you know, it's difficult with EMF because you really have to hardwire stuff, right? I mean, I can see why you would want a baby monitor, but some of them are like having a Wi-Fi router like next to a skull that's like as thin as a piece of paper. It's like super gnarly.
Ryan Blazer.
I'm not trying to shame, you know, or guilt parents out there, but it is something to be aware of.
Ryan got like a cease and desist letter because he did like a podcast, and then he shared the content of testing one of the EMF levels on the wearable. Also, man, like I know some moms that they literally, if that EMF monitor, if the wearable for baby like breaks, they will go buy another one for $500 or $800 the next day. It becomes an essential. So now it's like these schools, man, now that have like cameras in the classroom. You start by like just check in. Next thing you know, like mom's watching the kids in class like 24 hours a day, or like home cameras and stuff. It's a slippery slope of where that's going to take you. So with those baby wearables, like all of a sudden you're freaking out in the middle of the night about like your baby's heart rate. And what the heck, this is not ideal. I actually think so. You know, we have a baby monitor because it's on the absolute opposite side of the house. So first of all, we had set the camera up like on the opposite corner of the room. So at least it's like 14 feet away.
Yeah. Distance is everything. I mean, that's the thing, right? It's like something that could be really harmful 3 feet from the crib exponentially gets safer.
Yeah.
The further it is
like the
away.
microwave.
Inverse, I think they call it the inverse square law. It's like a logarithmic, you know,
Half-life.
decrease in exposure.
So when you think about, now that I've realized, the baby monitors, by the way, it's like the lowest quality camera ever, and it's like $500. I'm like, our phones are, wait, what's going on here? So I think what we've noticed, though, a little hack for people, you don't actually need the baby monitor. All you need is the audio. Like the video doesn't give you any good data. It's if baby's crying for a prolonged period of time, you want to go investigate the situation. The video part, now you have this bright light in your room.
Right.
And if there's two kids, it's switching between the rooms, and the frequency, the sounds are a little different in each room. So it's like, and the bright light's flashing. I'm like, all you really need is an audio only one that's like walkie-talkie tech, like a radio. You don't need the Wi-Fi or a Bluetooth. It could be like a $50 item or cheaper. Just like if baby's crying for 2 minutes, let me know.
You got to turn the nursery into like Watergate. You basically just bug the room, you know?
Yeah, that's it.
But that's a good point, actually, because the RF from like a walkie-talkie or something like that is, I think, much less harmful and a much weaker signal than.
I feel that way too.
There's less data. I mean, it makes sense, right? It's like if you have a FM radio on in your house, it's not blasting you like having, you know, a Wi-Fi washing machine.
Yeah, I feel that way as well. So with the off-gassing,
yes,
that's why baby's nursery, getting the dresser or the crib that are a couple years old, it's not a bad idea. If you also can, your idea with the ozone is really good. I've never heard of this before. Ozone is just like CO2 in the sense that it's a good acute tool. You don't want to have that ozone generator running all the time in your home. Yeah. And a lot of people are.
I would never run it when we're in here.
It's a tool.
Yeah, even if sorry, let me, I keep thinking of all these things. Remind me to come back to ozone.
Okay.
And the question would be, is it good every once in a while if you leave the house and your pets aren't in there and you maybe cover your plants, just kind of like do a clean sweep and just blast your place with ozone? Actually, you can just answer it now. I mean, is that a viable, just kind of
we'll work ozone into off-gassing.
Okay, go ahead.
So ozone, it's a tool. So I used ozone extensively after wildfire smoke situation to clear the home of the smoke odor. It's amazing for deodorization. When we would, and yeah, you're correct with your removing things and covering things. So when we would use ozone, you would have to take all the plants out of the home, take the fish out of the home, take the pets out of the home, take the humans out of the home, and then you'd have a dissipation period. So if the ozone machine's running for 12 hours, you know, equal part dissipation. So you'd wait 24 hours. And ozone machines typically have a timer on them. We were using very industrial ozone machines. So if it ran for 12, it would turn off after 12 hours. So you could go back after 24. You wouldn't even want to enter the home when it's operating.
Yeah, it's gnarly. I mean, and you know, too, when we were doing construction in here, I used to set one up here after they had painted or glued the floors or whatever, if there was off-gas, and I'd run it in here. And when I opened the door the next day, I mean, you couldn't even come in, you know, like burn your lungs. You can definitely tell when there's too much ozone.
And rubber, so an interesting thing, rubber any rubbers in your home, ozone will break those down and create formaldehyde. So
and ruin the rubber
and ruin
too,
stuff.
yeah, like power cables to your computer and shit like that over
Stuff
time,
like
yeah.
that. So that's why short doses, small shots make sense. So the applications that you're using it for is like really a unique use case. I like that. If you don't have an ozone generator, I think a couple things you can do. So if it's a good time of the year to have open windows, do that. If you can put it in if someone's moving into a brand new home, one of the best things that you can do is overlap whether you're renting or you're buying or whatever. Sometimes with buying, it's tough because of like mortgages to get the timing right. But if you're switching rentals or you're going from a rent to a buy, rent for a month past when you're supposed to move in. That way you can move into the home, go to that house, especially a brand new home. If you're moving to a new construction, the whole home is off-gassing at a high level. So if you can open your doors and windows and let the home breathe for a month, this is the best thing you can do. So yeah, everything off-gasses. Carpets, paints, furniture, insulation, theoretically clothing, like everything off-gasses. So you want to be mindful of that. So the best thing that you can typically do is just letting things breathe. If you can put something, if you don't have an ozone machine, if you can at least throw it in the garage and have the garage door cracked, or put something on your balcony, just realize that, and this is not, Jaspr is helpful for sure, but this is still a time when you want the place to be breathing and ventilating. So I wouldn't tell everyone to go out and buy an ozone machine, but if you have one, I think this is a good idea.
They're pretty cheap too. We'll link one in the show notes. Oh, that reminds me. Jared told me in the break that I said the show notes incorrectly. It's actually lukestorey.com/air2, the number 2. And you can just click on that in the show description on your podcast apps, along with everything else we're talking about. But the ozone generator I bought one of the better ones. I feel like it was under $200, and I've run that thing for days on end.
Okay, that's not bad. I've only ever used the industrial
It's just beast mode. I mean, you can't kill the thing. It's amazing. It's really light. It's easy to move around. It's
the ones
awesome.
I was using were like $2,000 plus.
I
never thought about the residential consumer market of ozone. I was using the one that the mold man carries around.
Right.
So I was using like heavy duty stuff. But yeah, that's actually fairly reasonable.
I recently signed up for this subscription service called Quantum Upgrade, and it's been a major game changer for my energy, EMF resilience, and the overall feeling in our home. Let me explain how it works. Quantum energy is the energy that supports all life in the universe. It's nonlinear, non-local, and has an immense potential for health when it's harnessed and directed to you or into your living environment. Through many years of research and development, Quantum Upgrade created one of the world's most potent sources of usable quantum energy. So when you sign up for their service, Quantum Upgrade associates your home, car, phone, business, and even your pet with this energy. The energy you receive with the Quantum Upgrade is a high consciousness field that you can even customize on the fly. For example, I like to set different booster levels at specific times, such as before a podcast recording or during sleep. It's pretty awesome. The Quantum Upgrade energy streaming service has already been studied and tested by independent institutes, doctors, and labs with phenomenal results in placebo-controlled double-blind studies. It's been shown to improve red and white blood cells and even reverse stages 1 and 2 of blood clotting in only a few minutes. You can try it right now risk-free with a 15-day free trial by visiting quantumupgrade.io. All you got to do is use the code Luke15 to activate your free trial. Again, you'll find it at quantumupgrade.io. Another thing I've done actually sometimes, in line with the ozone treatment is just putting things out in the sun. I find like baking a piece of furniture, like I'll buy a nightstand and take the drawers out and kind of take it apart and just put the whole thing in the sun for 2-3 days in a row. And that seems to like really help the off-gassing speed up.
Well, the reason that air quality is 5 to 10 times dirtier inside than outside, and it's such a big problem, is because the world's best air purifier is nature. The sun is the greatest UV light of all time. That thing is amazing. Wind, hydroxyl radicals, rain, trees. That's why eventually the wildfire smoke goes away, because the trees in the oceans filter that stuff out. The air is such a problem indoors because we've left nature outside. The sun is the UV is not hitting any of the surfaces. The wind is left out. The rain is left out. So like everything that cleans everything is trapped outside. And then our homes are typically wrapped in vapor barrier. So your home is basically like a big Tupperware container or a Ziploc bag, tightly sealed.
That's funny.
In plastic.
And if you think about like what happens when you leave some leftovers in Tupperware for a while,
That's where you get the mold.
the shit that grows in there.
No Tupperware. No, if you leave the lid off the Tupperware, the shit won't grow.
That's interesting. That's a good metaphor. You got a lot of good metaphors. You're like a metaphor king. You should write like a little mini, book, like a little mini coffee table book of just dope metaphors.
I think I will.
Yeah. As if you don't have enough projects.
I don't. I'm always on the market for more.
Well, every time I see you, you're like, yeah, now I'm doing this thing. You're starting a school. Tell me about the school.
I will. And I'll close the loop.
Did we cover the off-gassing
No, we're
thing?
good. That was everything.
Okay.
Let things breathe.
Right.
If it's a type of furniture that you don't mind getting secondhand, consider doing that. If you're painting, I can't say that no VOC or low VOC paint is perfect, but it's better than not doing it. If you're painting, we just painted right now. I'm moving out of my Airbnb last night. It ends tomorrow. Because when we were painting, we moved out for the week, and then we did a deep clean, and then we let the house breathe for 3 days. So just basically, when it smells like chemical stuff, let the thing breathe. That's kind of the 80-20 here.
Yeah. And then I guess it's, again, I think things are a given because I'm kind of living in a siloed world where most people I associate with are kind of like-minded.
Right.
But back to watching these plug-in Febreze things that I go, people are still buying these, obviously, because they're running ads on TV. I figured like the whole world is using totally non-toxic, fragrance-free cleaning products. And a couple days ago, Allison had ordered these like dryer sheets that were like, oh, natural. And I'm like, wow, these smell pretty strong. I look on the box, and right in the middle of all these essential oils and plant-based and no animal cruelty and all this greenwashing shit, right in the middle of that is fragrance. I'm like, what kind of fragrance? Like, that's pretty, ambiguous. And you could tell. I mean, it's just like toxic. So, you have to be kind of discerning, but, in order to even get these products. But how much of an impact do cleaning products and shampoos and things we wash our homes and bodies with, how much do those impact the air quality?
And like living in Austin, man, I was at one of these events here, and there was a bartender at the event, and he's like, dude, what's wrong with these people? Like, no one's drinking alcohol. Like, he's like, we're out of Topo Chico and we're out of like Olipop, but no one's touched the alcohol. And in my mind, I'm like, alcohol's dying. Like, no one's drinking anymore, but like,
and then you go down to 6th Street. It's like people are like puking all over the sidewalk. Like, oh no, there's still a faction of people that
the alcohol is not a diminishing market.
Yeah.
We're in this little bubble where people are drinking less. So yeah, same deal. It feels like I feel like everybody hates scented Ubers, but no, scents is like huge. Like hotels have a scent, and if you go to like any franchise businesses, they often smell the same across the chain or the hotels because that's a controlled fragrance. The fragrance market is a big one, and it's not one that I like very much. So yeah, like I don't know a lot about beauty and skincare and all that. So I'm always just looking at it through the lens of air. Like, I don't know how bad a nonstick pan is. I've never done the research. I've never studied it really. I don't know how bad, certain skincares are in hairsprays. What I do know is some hairsprays smell way more chemically than others. Some set off Jaspr and some doesn't. So I only learn about like the products in the home through what sets Jaspr off.
Oh, that's interesting.
So like organic beeswax candle, Jaspr doesn't get so mad.
Really?
Dollar store camera, Jaspr goes crazy.
Oh,
so there's
no
a huge,
shit.
so that's kind of like Jasper's like my non-tox detector a little bit.
Right.
It worked with distilled water. It's fine. City water, it's going crazy. So it's become an education tool for me. Certain hairspray. So now whenever Rachel gets like a new better for you product, we use it. And if Jaspr gets mad, we go deeper in our deep dive of like, what's in that hairspray? What's in that shampoo? What's going on here? So yeah, I don't know a ton about all that kind of stuff, but I just look at it through the lens of air. I can measure for VOCs and I can measure for particulates. And my siloed air perspective is like, if the VOC levels are really high when you use this product, no good. That's my oversimplified approach.
What about vacuum cleaners and their filtration or lack thereof, and just mold spores and particulate getting through the vacuum? How important is buying a really badass kind of sophisticated vacuum?
I think very. I own a vacuum called the GD930. GD930. If you Google it, I think Euroclean or Nilfisk. Honestly, anywhere you can get it, it looks like a little silver canister. And
I think that's the one I have because I did some research a couple years ago, and it has like a super badass filter in it, and the bag's very filtered, and
yeah, it has a real HEPA filter in it.
Yeah.
So like the Dyson and the, I can never say the word Miele, M-I-E-L-E.
I don't know. I've had one for years. I don't know how to pronounce it either.
I'm a big fan. If anyone's starting a company out there, make it a word that you can't possibly pronounce wrong.
I think they're from France,
Italy.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, even still,
yeah.
I don't. Anyway, you know which one I mean.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful product, but it's a good daily driver. Like a Dyson's a good daily because the convenience ratio makes sense. Busting out the GD930 every time you want to vacuum is not fun, but the housekeeper should use that one. Or if you're doing a monthly deep clean of your carpets, you should use that one. So our GD930, by the way, the only reason I know it is because that's what I used when I did mold removal and fire restoration and floods. That was the standard HEPA vacuum that every restoration company would use. They used to be like $1,500. Now they're like $599. They're sometimes even less. They're very reasonable. And so that should be like the deep clean vacuum, whether you're doing your deep clean monthly or quarterly, just getting after it a little bit more. That vacuum, it makes a huge difference because the filter, the teeny filters on other vacuums are not great. They don't even have a HEPA bag.
Right.
So they're not great. Good for daily, not good for deep cleaning.
Just reminded me of something on the vacuum cleaner tip. We hire just like a whatever kind of not a housekeeper that we know, but like a service. They just have like rotating people that come in, and we have one vacuum upstairs and one downstairs, just because I happen to have two. And I would notice after they would clean, you want to come home and they're not using any toxic cleaning products, right? That's kind of part of their thing. They do green cleaning. Okay, cool, we got that covered. But I noticed we would come home after they would clean. Again, first world problem, I admit, but whatever. I work hard, so I don't have to clean my house myself.
You live in the first world, so what's up?
So we'd come home and I'd be like, it smells fun. It has that Febreze, like weird kind of fake floral smell. And I couldn't figure out what it was. And then eventually I figured out they were bringing in their own vacuum cleaners that they use in other people's houses. I was like, that is so nasty.
And that's pretty standard.
So they're probably like, that powder you can put on carpet, like that chemical smelling powder, and then you vacuum it up.
Yep.
It smelled like that. I was finally able to place it. I think it's that shit. And they're using like vacuums that have bad filtration.
Wow.
And so other people's funk and chemicals from mold, God knows how many houses, mold, spores, all this shit, spike protein shedding, who knows what, right? It's like they're coming in and basically fumigating the whole house with other people's shit. So when I realized that, I was like, I'm sorry to be that guy, but please use our vacuums.
And carpets are really interesting too. I've been really interested in carpets lately. Now when I test people's air, I always do a disturbed sample of their carpet. Usually the PM 2.5 on the carpet is like 100x worse than the regular air. So the biggest air filter in your home is other than Jaspr, is your carpet.
Really?
Think about it. So people are like, carpets are bad, carpets are bad. Not always true. If you didn't have a carpet, the particles are going to go somewhere still. This is a giant filter. The thing is, it's an exposed filter, not a contained filter. And it's a filter that most people never change or clean. So if you have a carpet and you're cleaning it regularly, it's actually really beneficial for your air quality.
Oh, that's cool.
Because it's a filter. It's capturing the dust. It didn't make the dust. It's not the dust creator. It's the filter that captures the dust. So when the pet runs on it, when we walk on it, we're aerosolizing it all. That's a problem. But 60% generally of all of if you ever seen a carpet get steam cleaned, black water comes out. It's black.
That's nasty.
If you run air, but man, when we get our carpets now, so now as I've been testing it more, if you filter your air, your carpets get way less dirty because 60% of everything, so 40% of the stuff on your carpet is going to come from your pet, from your feet, you're shedding skin, you're shedding hair, like
so gross,
like from your body, eating on the carpet, stuff like that.
Just the skin shedding thing is so gross to me. Like when you see something that's dusty and you run your finger on it, it's like white dust. Like the fact that a lot of that is just people's skin in your house.
Insect
I don't know why that skeeves me
It's also insect parts.
Really?
Every breath you're taking, you have quite a lot of insect parts in it.
So no one can be vegan because we're all.
Hey, you could say that.
We're breathing in little tiny creatures all the time.
Yeah, if you want to be vegan, you have to just not breathe.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I want to let people know, because I was looking at my notes when we took our break. You've given us a fat ass, and that's PHAT, fat ass discount on your Jaspers, which obviously people can tell through this conversation I use, love, recommend. You can go to Jaspr, that's jaspr.co/Luke. And here's the good part. If you use the code Luke, you get $400 off. Awesome. But here's the catch, you guys listening. This ends at the end of May 2025. So that'll probably give you about a month from the time this comes out. So if you want to clean up your air, click on that in the show notes, and just remember, like, after that date, don't email me or
We'll
Mike.
keep it live though. It won't be $400 after that date. But after that, it'll be $200 off.
Okay.
For perpetuity.
Okay.
We'll leave it live. We'll leave it hanging there. But it will be $400 off for the month of May.
Okay,
well,
cool.
from the day that the pod drops. You know, I understand not every day, every week is air purifier investing day. But for those who it is, this will be the biggest discount we ever had. Basically, this is our huge Black Friday offer. But last year we sold out by almost 3 months. So we're like, instead of just like waiting to the end of the year to give people a great deal, let's just educate and give the best offer here and there on a podcast where it makes sense to an educated audience.
Solid.
And on our website, if you add more to the cart, that gets cheaper too. So the $400 discount will stack with our own discount. So it can even be as much as like $550 off. And we realize, you know,
right.
There's no Jaspr at Walmart or Best Buy or Amazon or Home Depot, because I'm like, they would just take the $400 and then sell it to you and offer you a horrible customer service experience. So we're like, why don't we just teach people about air and be honest with people, and then give them the great offer directly and cut out all that shit. Because man, e-commerce movement, do you remember like direct to consumer was what we all called e-commerce? Yeah. Remember the original promise of e-commerce was that we would cut out the middleman and sell directly to customers for great prices? That was the original thing, instead of the stores everywhere. But then all that happened is Facebook became the new middleman. So all these brands run Facebook ads. So now instead of Best Buy taking the margin, shit has not got cheaper since e-commerce.
I've noticed that.
This doesn't make sense. We've removed all the middleman, but the new middleman is Amazon, Google, and Facebook. They're digital middleman.
Right.
So we don't have digital middleman. We don't work with any of those partners.
Cool.
Yeah, it is.
I wish I didn't work with anything meta related personally, but it's kind of
be nice.
Just because they're evil.
Nice. You want to keep your Instagram page?
Don't. Yeah, I know.
No, Zuckerberg's cool now.
No, he
does jiu-jitsu. No,
dude,
kidding.
Yeah. Oh my God. What a freaking psyop. It's funny, speaking of Instagram. And by the way, you guys listening, if you could follow me on Instagram, if you don't already, I'd really appreciate it, because they're punishing me so badly. But I'm at Luke Storey, Storey. If you're new to the show, that's how you spell it. I posted last August 2024.
Oh yeah, you got screwed.
A meme that was like a collage of a bunch of evil politicians, Republicans and Democrats, to be fair. You had your Bushes on there and everything. And then in the corner, there was a little, one of the kind of cutouts was Hunter Biden in his underwear, from one of his crack escapades. And the copy on the meme says, "No one is above the law." Because those people are above the law, right? No one's getting in trouble for these crimes they're committing. I mean, we're pretty innocent and not really like left or right leaning. Basically just my stance on, like, I think pretty much 99.9999999% of politicians are completely evil and fucked. And so maybe even 100 at this point. So Instagram, it was a story. I mean, it goes away in 24 hours, right? I'm not like making a documentary about these people. I'm just like, this is kind of cute. It's just sort of showing that people have this sort of legal immunity. And so Instagram, didn't delete my account, but they're like, you can't post, you can't go live, you can't monetize.
Oh, it got like
your shit won't be recommended to new people. We're going to limit even people that follow you from seeing your posts. I tried to appeal it a bunch of times, and it's never gone away. It's still on there. And we're like, I'm like a year and a half in on that one. And I, of course, deleted it. I have no investment in the stupid meme. Like, I could care less. If it offends you guys, no problem. I'll just delete it, Wow. So that is a long way of saying F these communists who run social media.
All right.
Yeah. So I love that you don't give them money.
No, we come directly to the people.
Epic. All right. Well, I want to make sure there's nothing else. Oh, yes, there is. Okay, so you talked about how you won't make a small portable Jaspr because it would be pointless because it wouldn't work, and you might make money, but it's not going to be effective, and I respect that. One thing that concerns me a lot, and you alluded to this before, is air quality in the car. Because they're spraying the skies with God knows what 24/7, pretty much all over the world now, and you've got brake dust, you've got exhaust from burning fuel, roads are really toxic air. So I always like keep the windows closed and I run that recirculator. And I'm always concerned about the air quality in the car. And of course, you open the windows and get some fresh air, which is like chemtrail dust laden, not really fresh air. What do you see in the future of like being able to actually have clean air for those of us that do a lot of driving?
So the only car that has really good air filtration in it that I've ever seen is Tesla.
Oh, God damn it. I hate those cars.
But they have a big ass filter.
Really?
Huge.
Wow.
Huge.
They also have the highest EMF.
They do. So I'm not commenting on overall if you should get the car or not.
Yeah.
I don't have an electric car. But from a car perspective, what they've done right, where you can look from, is their HEPA filter is like 20 to 30 times. Most cars have like a cabin filter that's like, 10 inches by 5 inches, very thin sheet of, it's like your furnace filter. The Tesla filter is more like a Jaspr filter. It's a big, like 4-foot long filter with carbon in it. So their air filter is truly badass.
Wow.
And I say that because I would love to make a car air filter, but there's really not an elegant way to do it. Like you'd have wires and cords. What am I do? A cup holder one up on your dash behind the headrest.
Right.
It's just, it needs to be built into the car.
Right.
So I actually order premium cabin filters for my car off Amazon. I just type in like, there's companies who make them. It's like $15.
Oh, aftermarket vibes?
Yep. So it's like a HEPA. None of them are like a cool, sexy brand. I've actually thought about making them, but there's just so many different cars, and I'm committed to what I'm committed to right now. But so mine is like a HEPA layer with a carbon filter too. And wow, is it effective. So the truck, I have a Sierra Denali pickup truck, and I was living in Kelowna during a wildfire situation. And not even a very bad one, and my car's never shook the smell, like ozone, everything. It's embedded. So, but if I switch out my cabin filter like every 2-3 months, it's fine.
That's cool.
Also, it's funny. Last time I got my car serviced, I changed my own cabin filter the day before, and they told me I needed a new cabin filter.
Oh,
it was just off the chart. They didn't even check clearly. I had like a gangster carbon filter in there. So I changed that more regularly than most because it helps a ton. Like the scent, the odors that I normally would pick up on are dramatically reduced. But I do think I'm pretty comfortable that I'll be able to advocate for HVAC, architects, builders, developers. I think I'll be able to change the way that schools, hotels, and homes are built. I feel like give me 10 years, we can do this. The car one, I'm less sure about, but the right answer would be that the OEMs, the cars, the manufacturers just need to put way bigger and better filters in. It's a simple solution. But whether it's Google or Apple or whoever, there's now a little air quality thing on the weather app. I think, and I'm doing my best to raise air awareness in general. So I would like to see, I personally would purchase a car, a feature that would matter to me. Now they're all kind of nice. Like a car with a badass air filter. I think there's a market for that.
Like if you go build your car, like a couple years ago, I made the mistake of buying a brand new car. They were really good at sales at the dealership. I was going to buy my lease at the end. I was like, that's good enough. I really don't need a new car. Like no one sees me. I'm like, who am I going to impress, right? I don't go anywhere anyway. But anyway, he got me in front of the computer and I was like, well, those black rims are pretty dope, and he just kept like adding things on. And then I got this very custom car, which I did eventually buy when that lease ran out. But if they had a thing like, easy Wi-Fi shut off switch.
Airplane mode.
Airplane mode in your car. Because I have to like click 55 buttons on the dash to
configure
stop.
It the way you like it.
To like kill the EMF router in there. But if there was an option that's like extra dope filter, 100%, I'm in.
Especially anyone who lives in an allergy place. Like, we have cedar fever here. Yeah. A lot of the country is dealing with wildfire smoke, urban pollution, people commute, truck drivers. But it's been just like a thing that I haven't. I clearly look at Jaspr. It's beautiful. It's elegant. It fits seamlessly into your life. So I will not create like a big ugly box that's like a car seat sitting in the back there. Like
it'd be brutal.
It would suck. So there's just
Yeah.
not a really nice thing. I mean, it'd have to be like, really aftermarket and like a roof panel. Like it'd have to be like a subwoofer type of, the AV guys need to get into upgraded air filters, but it's just not an easy thing to make an upgrade. So what I do is my cabin filters.
You can always wear a COVID mask in your car like people in California do.
Actually, there was a post a couple weeks ago someone sent me. I feel bad making fun of them because they were Jaspr customers, but someone sent me a post of a COVID safe bowling game in Portland. They're like, there's this whole TikTok thing, like a few people sent it to me, and it was like they were talking about how the bowling alley graciously opened up an hour early for them and let them have a COVID safe time where everyone was able to be double masked and play bowling. And there was like 8 Jaspers in there, like in between every bowling alley. So like, thanks guys for supporting us. And I'm like, that video is 3 years old during COVID. And then she's like, no, it's not. And I looked, and it was the newest Jaspr. Like, you have the newer Jaspr.
Yeah.
During COVID, it was the older aesthetic.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit, those are actually the new ones. That was last week. So this was a month ago from now.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's the power of trauma-based mind control at scale. I try to not be I'm joking. I am judging those people, but
well, you're judging the things that they're doing right now.
yeah, but really, I mean, the more human, compassionate part of me can zoom out and go, wow, it's not their fault. I mean, they just literally just because they watch television and they're like, the TV said, and then they follow that, and I just, for whatever reason, I'm not someone who does what the TV tells me to do.
Thank God. Your podcast would suck if you did.
Oh my God, can you imagine? One thing I did want to ask you too, which I think would be useful for people, is talk to me about specifically to the Jaspr square footage, because I was really excited when we got our first unit. And of course I'd like we talked about, I'm going to put it in the bedroom. That's, that's square one. But then I realized like, oh, that's not, if the bedroom door is closed,
Great
or even
question.
if it's open, this is a huge kind of open floor plan. So then I started adding them, and I don't even know if I have enough of them now to really like.
You're in a pretty good spot.
I mean, I definitely have one in the office. Then I have one up here in this bedroom, which sometimes migrates around, and there's one in the living room where the kind of
And
TV
one in the
is.
bedroom.
Yeah,
You're perfect.
yeah.
That's perfect. So
And this house is 3,500 square feet, I think. But if somebody's, say someone's living in a 1-bedroom apartment in a city, like is one in the bedroom gonna like suck in the air from the living room and kind of take care of everything? Or
I'm going to start with the first question.
do you
about the
need one in
square
every
foot.
room?
The square foot thing is interesting because most air purifiers are marketing based on square footage. This is another just complete piece of bullshit. The air purifier is not a Roomba. It does not care about square feet. It cares about cubic volume. So if you have an 8-foot, let's just say we have 1,000 square foot place with 8-foot ceilings, or 1,000 square foot place with 16-foot ceilings. That's double the cubic volume. It's double the air in the room, half the effectiveness, right? So when you think about air, should not be talked about in square feet. It doesn't make any sense. It's like your pool. If you have a pool heater and a pump and a filter, we go by the gallons and the liters. We don't go by the length and width, because it doesn't matter. If you have a 4-foot deep pool versus an 8-foot deep pool, it's twice the water. It's colder at the bottom. So that's why we speak. But I can't give people scientific equations to do length times width times height to calculate their cubic volume, or we would not be really, it would be just too much for people. We do that with businesses because they need certain standards and stuff. But the simple answer, and also when you, like, if you go down the aisle at like Target or any of these stores who are just selling air purifiers, those purifiers are designed to sell in a retail environment. So like, who's ever gone to like Levoit or Honeywell's website before? Like, no one. Do they even have a website? But they're like some of the biggest brands in the world. Like, so when you walk down the aisle, you see it's trickery. There's 2 numbers that you will see. It'll be like filters 99.97%. Like, that sounds good. That's a big number. And you'll see like extra large rooms, 1,400 square feet. It'll be like, great. I only have a 1,200 square foot apartment. Get one of these bad boys and my air will be 99% filtered. Not so fast. So your air filter is filtering. When you see that 99.97%, that is when they take the filter out of the machine and they very gently wisp some air at it in a controlled environment. So that doesn't mean the machine filters 99.97%. That means the filter does by itself. So let's say you had a HEPA air purifier the size of a water bottle, or that update can over there. Little tiny air filter, and it could filter 99.9% per pass, but it's too small. That can't possibly clean the air in a big room. I go back to the analogy of a kettle. Kettles are awesome at heating water if you're trying to make a cup of tea, but if you're trying to fill a bathtub with hot water, the kettle won't work. That water is going to cool down faster than you could possibly heat it up. So the kettle is great for tea, not so good for bath time. You need a water heater for the bath. It's not the right tool for the job. So most air purifiers that you see are kettles trying to heat bathtubs. Only they're sneaky and you can't tell, which is why my favorite review on Jaspr ever is, I've owned 7 air purifiers before. I'm not sure if any of them were working. Jaspr is the first time I bought one that I knew it works because I can see it and I can feel it. I'm like, thank you. That's what I was trying to do here. So and when they say 1,000 square feet, covers 1,000 square feet, what does covers mean? Does covers mean the air is 95% cleaner or 2% cleaner? What is covers? It's very vague. So we couple 2 numbers, the big square foot number and the high percentage of the filter efficiency, and we figure, I'm checking my box. I've been to people who 100 millionaire homes and they have a $99 air purifier. It wasn't a money issue. They thought they were just checking a box. I got my air filter. We're good. No, not really. So to me, it's kind of a personal moral ethic thing. If I was going by the same standard that most air purifiers would, I would say Jaspr filters like 7,000 square feet. Like what, 5%? Not much. It's great for a bedroom. My personal, also, when they tell you the square footage, that's assuming like low ceilings. If you get into like the details, it's like assuming low ceilings. And it's also assuming like a very controlled environment. So, and it's assuming that the air purifier is on full speed. Most air filters are at lowest speed 99% of the time, so they're quiet. The stat is based on full speed. So my definition of covers is we need to be able to clean the air at least 80% in its silent mode with 8-foot ceilings. So one Jaspr can do about 1,000 square feet with 8-foot ceilings on its lowest setting. If we crank it up, it's going to do more. So that's why we did our bundle pricing. So if somebody buys one Jaspr, it's like $1,000. If they buy 4, it's like $625 or $650 each. That's why we tier those discounts considerably. It's like if you think about Sonos, of course, you're not a fan, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, EMF.
I have Sonos all over. They're just hardware.
Okay, so you hardwire them. But if you think about Sonos, you wouldn't describe Sonos as a speaker. You would describe Sonos as a whole home surround sound system. So that's how I think about Jaspr. Jaspr is not an air purifier. It's a whole home decentralized system because the HVAC stuff doesn't work that good for filtration. So yeah, one Jaspr in your bedroom is going to give you like 95% clean air in your bedroom. And maybe like the whole home is going to be like 10 or 20% cleaner. So now if we have it in 2 bedrooms, the bedrooms are going to be like 95%. And now we have like 40% cleaner air everywhere. If we have one in every bedroom, the ultimate solution is 1 per bedroom. If you spend, or in an office, if you like put them where the time is being spent. So if you're a family of 4, you got mom and dad in a bedroom, you got 2 kids, 1 Jaspr in the master bedroom, 1 in the kids' room, and 1 in the living room. And now we're dialed in. And now I used to feel like it was really expensive, $1,000 air purifier, but all of a sudden like $2,500 for a whole home filtered air system where you're breathing like 90% cleaner air 24/7, it feels cheap all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like if you could get you could spend tens of thousands on a water filter system, and you did. So when you think about it as a whole, like before Sonos, you'd have to get like, and like hardwire systems got good, you'd have like one big boombox speaker in your main room. So it would be either, if you wanted to hear it everywhere, you'd have to crank it. So then you can kind of hear it in the other room. The bass is sort of killing you. It's blasting you in that room. Then you turn it down, and now you can't hear it anywhere. Along came decentralized speakers where it can be just the right volume everywhere. Awesome. And that's why we did it the way we did. And that's why there's like my passionate rant on why the whole look out for the square feet and look out for those numbers, because it's kind of a lot of bullshit.
I love that. I mean, that's one of my
favorite, I like podcasts.
That's one of my favorite things to do on the podcast is myth bust, shitty marketing.
I'll tell you, HEPA in general is bullshit.
Really?
HEPA's crap. HEPA, which we have a HEPA filter, HEPA is a standard HEPA means you're filtering 99.97 particles down to 0.3 microns. Which, by the way, you can actually be even more efficient at smaller sizes. That's the size that gets through the most. If you look at most labs who do third-party testing for brands, they're in the social proof business. They're basically PR firms disguised as labs. If they weren't really good at giving you a great check mark, who would hire that lab? So when you go to a lab to do testing for your water filter, for your skincare company with all the testing labs, typically the first thing they ask you is, what are your marketing goals? Let's reverse engineer a study to get you to make the claim that you're looking to make. So most air filters are like, we want to be HEPA. Great. Well, there's no airflow standard. So let's say you have an air purifier. The best analogy I can give you, imagine measuring the fuel efficiency in your car driving 1 mile an hour. You'd have the most efficient car of all time. So with HEPA, they're measuring the airflow at like an average air filter. Let's say it's 50 CFM. We go up to 400. They're doing the test at like 1 CFM. So theoretically, a piece of Kleenex could be a HEPA filter if the air was moving slow enough. So HEPA, I believe there should be like a standard with the labs where you have to at least run at the fan speed that the purifier goes on fan speed 1. There's none of that. So, and arguably less than HEPA, we might be getting off of HEPA in the next couple of years as we do more testing. So I like this saying. It's like, would you rather have 99% of $1 or 95% of $5? Well, we'll take option 2, please. So you want to change the air as much as possible. So bigger is better. More airflow is great. That's what you're looking to do when you're filtering air. More air changes per hour. If you have a really, really tightly wound filter, not enough air is going through it. So when we do like real world studies, like we fill a room with mold, we fill a room with dust, we fill a room with smoke. Sometimes, almost always, the less efficient filters clean the air in the room better. It's less sexy for like a lab test with a big number, but because you're cleaning more air, you can clean more air faster and quietly with because there's actually a standard above HEPA. It's called ULPA, ULPA. It's above HEPA. It's 99.98%. But no one uses ULPA because the diminishing returns are so good by the restricted airflow kills it. It's not moving air anymore. That was the problem with like Austin. The carbon's amazing, but the filter's so good that it's not moving that much air. They choked it out. Same reason you don't want to put a HEPA filter on your HVAC system. You're going to kill the airflow. No air is going to get through it anymore. So that's my myth busting on HEPA for you too.
Beautiful. Great information as always. It's funny because we're, gearing up for this second conversation, and I was like, I don't know. I think we kind of covered everything last time. Like, clearly not. There's all kinds of new information here. I mean, I think because your passion,
we're learning new stuff all the
inspires
time.
you to like keep learning. You're not just a guy that's like, oh, I kind of figured this thing out. We're selling a product. I'm done. You're just one of those freaks that's wired to keep learning. So
I want to tell you about the school before we're done too.
Yeah. Oh, okay, let's do
important.
that, and then we'll
wrap
it up
with school.
Yeah.
And by the way, that hotel that I said we got into, I just wanted to give them like if you go there, if you're going to Miami or Fort Lauderdale, anytime, probably by the time the podcast launches, we'll be in every room of that hotel. And we're helping with their messaging. So when you walk in the room, it's going to be like, welcome to your sleep sanctuary. So we're using the hotel room as an air awareness place. And the sleep quality is just going to be off the charts for people. And it's just a great wellness hotel anyway. Great beds.
Give us the name again.
It's the Carillon Hotel.
Carillon.
Carillon. Carillon Wellness Hotel in Miami. But I'm asking you, if you go there and you have an amazing sleep, please, if you care about the air for all of us, give them a 5-star review on TripAdvisor, Google, wherever you can. Mention that you had the best sleep of your life, and mention the Jaspr and the air purifier, because hotels don't understand clean air. They do understand 5-star reviews. So if they can get enough reviews talking about it, and remember, like I said, we're giving them away. We're not even letting them keep it. We're putting them in there and not charging them for anything. The goal is if we can give the guest an amazing sleep, some percentage of people are like, I want Jaspr air in my room. And if this works, we can start giving it to way more hotels.
Awesome.
So if you go to the Carillon Hotel, which I think you should, it's a great hotel, great team, and you have an amazing sleep, please leave them a review, and please mention Jaspr and your sleep in the air, because that's what will give us the fuel to get more Jaspers into more hotels.
Epic.
And so moving to school.
Yeah.
When my daughter, she's 5 now, when she was 2, she started going to daycare. She was never sick before that. Maybe she had a cough here or there. We put her into daycare, and then she was freaking chronically ill, man. chronically ill, boogers, runny nose, stuffed up nose, coughing all the time. And like, you talk to the doctor, like, this is normal. Between 2 and 4 kids are sick like 30, 40 times a year. I'm like, this is not, you know, we talk my red flag sniff test. I'm like, this doesn't feel right. Before she started school, she was not getting sick very often. It's not like we had her wrapped in bubble wrap. We're out in the world. We're interfacing. We're on planes. We're in hotels. She was doing pretty great. Put her in school. She's sick all the time. Well, what happens? Now my wife's sick all the time. I'm getting more sick all the time. So like the true cost of a sick child is insane, because a sick kid gets the whole class sick. Then they get all their parents sick. And then your productivity's down. Your sleep is down. Your energy's down. There's less life being lived. The Super Bowl, the concert, the trip to Disney World, life gets canceled. Things don't happen. You stop connecting. It sucks. No one has aspirational goals in life when you're sick. You just want to be not sick. So you have this family who's already exhausted. They got a baby. Maybe they have a new baby. It's rough. And then this kid, your child, is sick all the time. So first of all, I go to the school, and every day I'd go and pick her up. I would unplug the air freshener, and I would put it in like more inconspicuous places. And every day, the next day, it was plugged back in. I'm like, they don't seem to pay much attention around here, but when it comes to finding the air freshener and plugging it back in, man, they are amazing at this. So I start looking at their cleaning products, all toxic chemical, the harshest chemicals. The school has no windows that are open. Bright fluorescent light bulbs flickering at a very unnatural rate all day long. No water filtration. They're just using tap to fill the kids' waters at school. No air filtration. No humidity control. Bunch of little babies, diapers and boogers and all that. I'm like, what is going on here?
Wi-Fi too, probably.
Yeah, they probably got the Wi-Fi too. So we have our little poor babies. We bring them home. We send them off to school, and then they're chronically ill. The whole family's sick, and this is like a travesty. So I donated a Jaspr to Ari's class. I'm like, let's see what happens here. She almost stopped getting sick. Enough for the school. This is actually her second school. They bought 5. Well, they asked for 5 more, and they buy the filters. I gave them 5 more, and her first school, I'm not gonna shout them out or negatively shout them out, but they're in the area in Austin, and I said, look, this was the first school. We left because the school would not allow me to give an air purifier to the class. They would not let me donate it. I said, you guys have 3 locations. Let's put a Jaspr in 50% of all the classes, and let's track the absenteeism and show how much it's working. They wanted no part of this. Ghosted me. I'm like, wow, well, we're out of here. So there's a study in Finland, this air purifier study in Finland, where they did a double blind or whatever. They did a very controlled setting where they started putting air purifiers into daycares and schools, but not even great air purifiers, but okay ones. And almost immediately, absenteeism dropped by 30%. Teachers and students, like that. Because how do we get each other sick? Surface and air. Pretty simple. A lot of it's air. A lot of it's breathing. Naturally, if one kid's coughing germs, where does the cough go? There's no windows. And schools are businesses. And whether it's public school or private school, they're airtight, and they're designed to keep the cool in the summer and the warm air in the winter, and they're tight boxes. So they're not breathing. So whether it's a cough, a diaper, or a runny nose, or a sneeze, the droplets, the aerosols, the carpets aren't being cleaned properly. So they're like literally cesspools. So I see this Finland study. I'm like, holy shit. Like they have the data that I needed to move forward with it. So me and my wife, I'm 35 in a couple weeks. She's a year younger. Since I met her, we've been together 16 years. And ever since I've known her, we've been working on curriculums together. We've been designing curriculums. We were dreaming of how we would teach and all this stuff. Well, the second school was great. You know, it was an outside school. They put the Jaspers in. They had the water filters. That was cool. But they weren't teaching them very much. So I'm like, normally if you want like an outdoor school, it's almost like, I think like a little bit of reading and writing and math is good. You know, not hardcore, but like my daughter loves reading, and it's like really, it's really maturing her. She likes being able to read the signs on the street and order off menus for herself. Like it's actually really empowering for her in the real world, being able to, and like in half an hour, a couple times a week, it's not like we had to like institutionalize her to teach her how to read a little bit. And she loves to read, and just like real practical style reading. And so the school in our neighborhood, the land went for sale, and I'm like, shoot, someone's going to buy this building and there won't be a school in the community anymore. And we love bike riding our kids to school. And once I saw that air study, I'm like, man, and my wife's she was a nurse, we're super health and wellness oriented and we care a lot about learning. So we bought the school. We're going to be opening in August in Austin. And our goal is to make the healthiest school in America, the healthiest school in the world. So what's the school going to have? It's going to have 2 Jaspers in every single classroom. It's going to have badass state-of-the-art water filtration systems. It's going to have we're not going to have direct fluorescent lights. It'll all be, high quality light bulbs, mostly diffused, mostly lamps, no crazy high flicker rates. A lot of the learning is going to be happening in screened in porches. So, outside's great, inside's great, but massive screened in porches. So a lot of fresh air and kind of indoor outdoor space, a lot of outside time, a lot of project-based learning, because like Montessori is awesome. I really believe in those methodologies for teaching a kid, but what they left out is collaboration. So the kids become these like isolated learning machines, but they forget about like building with each other and collaboration and leadership. And the school, there's nothing worse than you rip your kid out of bed at 7 a.m. and be like, go to school, shove them out the door. Like, that's not what I thought we were getting into. Or you have to homeschool them, which is tough too. And then school's done, you bring them home, it's like 4:00, you're frantically cooking dinner. Then by the time that's cleaned up, they're in bed. You're like, what's going on here? Like, so we're going to have, you could drop off the kids as late as 9:00. You shouldn't have to rip your kid out of bed in the morning. So the school is designed for the entrepreneurial family who wants free thinking children in a non-toxic environment. We're bringing in a healthy wellness chef. We're going to have a market. We're going to bring in local mentors. So like an example is, let's say my friend UJ, he started a book called The 5-Minute Journal. When he's in town, he's going to come in and teach the kids about gratitude and about journaling. We have so many amazing mentors here in the community who would love to come in occasionally and teach a lesson and teach the parents too. So, Ryan Blazer is going to come in and teach all the parents about healthy homes and healthy buildings. So not just for the kids, but for the parents as well. So, and we're open sourcing everything, man, everything. So all the financials are going to be publicly available online. What we pay the teachers, how much the food costs, the lighting, the water, the air, the renovations we do, the carpets that we put in, every decision we make is going to be an open book, including our financials. And we're not trying to create some new school nationwide. My wife, Rachel's not even taking a salary. Every dollar that we make is going to reinvest into the school. We're not going the nonprofit route from a technical perspective. All of a sudden there's boards and there's governance, and best way to pay no taxes, just don't make a profit. You don't have to be a nonprofit. So yeah, we're going to have a little podcast studio there. So let's say the family wants to travel. We encourage it. Take your kids, go travel. Public schools have these like laws. You can't even take your kids out of school. They'll like call the sheriff. You like go to court. It's crazy. So we're going to have if you go on a trip, it's like, great. Are you going to learn while you're gone? When you're gone, we want you to present about what you learned and where you went and create little pass books of all the stickers for all the kids. Where did all the kids in your class go? And have, a world map on the wall. So if a kid goes somewhere, we're going to put a pin and where have we collectively traveled? So it's going to be designed for like entrepreneurial families who want free thinking children in a non-toxic environment, not asking too much. And so my title will be, you'll see by the time this pod drops, my Instagram will be different. It'll be like founder at Jaspr and chief wellness officer at Kindling Academy. So it's called Kindling Academy because our mindset is so many schools are like, we're going to shape your kid, craft your kid. These are like, I don't want you to shape anything. So we're using, kindling is my metaphor for like how I like to operate in the world. So every child already has a spark within. So let's put a little kindling on that fire and let that flame become its own beautiful fire, however it will. But without kindling, there's a lot of beautiful fires that never get started. Can't put a bunch of wet logs. And what happens when you put logs on a fire, you suffocate it. It needs oxygen. It needs to breathe. So kindling, thoughtful, small sticks, grow slowly, but we're not going to influence how the flame grows. So it's called Kindling Academy. It'll be, the website's going to be live by the time we drop. It's a small school and we're going to podcast and content and open source everything. We want to, I love this whole like Make America Healthy movement. I think it's great. We're really paying attention, and this is the moment where the attention is on this kind of stuff. Like, so we're going to really attack it from the school perspective. We're going to have a wellness, high quality food, water, air, education, all that. So it's called Kindling Academy, but it's going to be kindling.academy. There's no .com. Like literally .academy is a thing. Yeah. So kindling.academy and Kindling Academy on Instagram. And if you live in Austin and you're interested, awesome, come check us out. But if you don't live in Austin, if you have kids, if you know anyone who has a kid, check us out. We'll have email stuff and Instagram stuff, and like come participate in the journey. We're going to open source everything. We're going to show our absenteeism rates versus the state. We're going to show our runny nose and our sickness rate, teachers and students, and prove out that schools can be healthy and can be awesome. So as much as this Jaspr stuff's awesome, and I think you should get one, this is really the most important thing.
This is so cool. I'm kind of bummed we waited till the end.
We'll get him next time. Maybe we'll do a podcast together sometime at the school.
That would be epic. I love this idea, man. As a former kid who was just absolutely tortured by the whole premise of school, I mean, it's just like the worst ever. I hated it for good reason. And I think,
well, it's going to be in your backyard, so you'll be able to come check it out, man.
So great. And I know
most events there. Oh, there'll be saunas and cold plunges too?
Sold.
So when you drop off your kids, even if you don't, but if people have kids, we found that a lot of schools, they do a really shitty job at creating community. And, you know, school has built-in friendship. You know, here in high school, you got friends. All of a sudden, you become an adult one day and you're like, where are all the friends at? There's no built-in friends anymore. So the best time, I think, to make lifelong friends at the 30-plus thing, especially if you're not in business, is, and even if you are, it's through the kids in the kids' school. Like, nobody wants to hang out with somebody with kids unless they have them too. So there'll be saunas and cold plunges on the property. We have a wellness director who will facilitate breath work and stuff. So when you come drop off your kid at 8 o'clock or whatever, you can stick around. When you pick up your kid, you can come early or stay late and stick around, hit the sauna, hit the cold plunge, and get to know the other families. So we're really viewing this as healing and wellness for the family and for the community, not just for the student. It comes as a package deal. So I'm pumped, man. Rachel's going to crush it. So
I can't wait to
come check it out.
I can't wait to watch this unfold.
Come on down.
Before I forget, on the lighting tip, and I can send you a link.
Please
There's
do.
a company called Color Beam.
Color Beam?
Yeah, dude. It is so cool. They make, I mean, they do residential for high-end homes and stuff, but it's mostly a commercial application. And they make all sorts of different custom, basically like lighting systems that all run on low voltage, kind of like your landscaping lighting. So there's no dirty electricity. There's no EMF.
Cool. Color Beam.
Yeah. And they have completely automated and customizable color spectrums and intensity.
That'd be fun.
So you can set it to completely match like the full color spectrum of the sun from like sunrise to sunset.
That's awesome.
Super dope. And they also, there's all sorts of, like you can have them, you know, recessed or in fixtures. So it's like, it's totally customizable and controllable.
I will check it out.
And there's no flicker, and it's a much higher, I've been geeking out on this, so that's why I'm excited. Not only, it's not like, oh, let's have red light or blue light, right? There's like, you can really like customize it. But the fact that there's like zero flicker, because a lot of lights will advertise as like flicker free, but it's just like not discernible flicker, but your brain and nervous system still knows flickering. So it's like truly no flicker.
Right.
And like I said, no EMF and like the colors you want. And also like you can make it look super cool.
Make it look cool. Kids were going to love that.
Yeah, dude. So if you're like a kid, you know, if it's winter time and it gets dark at 5.
It's a design thing. It makes you feel good in a nicely designed space.
Exactly.
Lighting is everything.
Yeah, Color Beam. I think it's like colorbeam.com or something. It's easy to find, but yeah, it's definitely worth looking into. Because it's easiest to do when you're in build out phase,
this
right?
is the time.
It's like, yeah,
it's
difficult to retrofit.
So this is the time
because it's all wired.
It's really built in.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Well, in addition to our tree houses and our tree weaves and our outdoor pizza oven, we will get some sweet lighting and like we'll check out Color Beam.
I'm stoked, man.
So yeah, great. And like Jaspr was able to pay for the school, which is so exciting because like I believe, you know, better than running all those ads on those platforms. I'm like, there's no way creating a healthy school and talking about it is not going to be the best thing ever for everything. Yeah. So like investing in Rachel. So yeah, this was good, man.
Dude.
This was great.
Well, thanks for joining me again.
Jaspr.co, guys.
Yeah.
/Luke. And it should auto apply the code. But if it doesn't, put code Luke in there. Okay. For the month of May, it'll be $400 off. That will be the biggest discount you will ever see. I promise you.
Cool.
That's the Black Friday deal, but do it now because when Black Friday comes around, we get sold out for months. And Skinny Confidential is dropping sometime in May, and that is going to sell us out. So
Yeah.
if you want that thing, if you want to get Jaspr and clean air in your bedroom soon,
Got to hit the sale before that podcast comes out.
but it'll be live
Yeah.
for the month of May, and then it'll be $200 forever afterwards. And so check out Jaspr, check out the school. Thanks for listening, guys. Thank you for having me, Luke.